Welcome, everybody, for the final time to the ORL, FuturEsports and Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming. We'll be bringing you round 6, the finale, the final 3 races of the season. And I'm very excited to find out exactly who is going to be taking home the ultimate prize at the end of this evening. I will be joining you for the entirety of the evening. My name is Aldar, also known as Jacob Hancocks, and joining me will be Badgerman, also known as Austin Smith.
Yeah, and this is going to be a mental evening, I think. We have 3 teams still in the running for the whole event, for the whole Nations Cup, to crown themselves the best nation on F1 2020. But we have a lot more than that. We have a couple of giveaways that we want to alert you guys to. One from our title partner, MOBIUZ Gaming. You see the instructions right there on the screen. You can win a BenQ MOBIUZ EX3415R monitor. You have all stream to enter. Follow MOBIUZ Gaming EU on Twitter. Follow team_ORL on Twitter. Tag 2 friends in the tweets. Retweet the giveaway tweet. Like this stream and comment in the chat hashtag MOBIUZ and hashtag EX3415R. And of course, we have another giveaway by our partners at FreeM Sim Racing for some wonderful gloves. I own a pair of those, and they are really, really fantastic. For that giveaway, if you want to enter, follow at FreeM Sim Racing on Twitter. Again, follow at team_ORL on Twitter. Tag 2 friends, retweet, like this stream, and post in the chat here the hashtag FreeMSimRacing.
Indeed, and of course, we should run you through then all of our partners. We have, of course, MOBIUZ Gaming, Next Level Racing, FreeM Sim Racing, and HyperX. And in just a few moments here, I believe we're going to be bringing you a few interviews from a couple of the drivers. One driver from each of the main 3 competing teams. And of course, those 3 teams now at the very sharp end of the season. You have Spain in the lead with Hungary and Italy hot on their heels. So it's going to be one driver from each of those teams that we're going to be hearing from today.
Yeah, and I think we already have the first one here. We're going to start off with the Italian team, and it is going to be Daniela Haddad joining us. Daniela, how are you doing tonight?
Hello, hello. Nice to see you guys. Everything right, and you?
Yeah, all very good here, thank you. And so, why don't we just jump into it then? So, going into this last event of the season, obviously, Team Italy, you've been chopping and changing with the lineups that you've had going into every race. You have never done 2 races in a row with the same lineup. Do you think that's helped you out over the course of the season, or do you think maybe you could have benefited from a bit more consistency?
Well, to be fair, I believe it is something that is that should have been done from others as well. I believe that it's more cool to have a team that actually is racing and not just 2 drivers every time. But this is my personal decision. I wanted everybody to race every race, most of it, because I believe at the end of the day, we are racing for fun, and even if we want to win, I believe that is more respectful for the other members of the team to have all the guys on track. So, it was my decision, apart from pace and everything else, to have at least every guy with 1 race each Sunday, if not 2.
Indeed. And of course, going into this race, we have all 4 of the Italian cohorts participating. The first race will have Domenico Lavecce and Alessio Di Caprio. That race is going to be in France. Is that a race, do you know, Domi and Alessio feeling confident going into that one?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm pretty confident on the pace and quality of Alessio. Alessio on quality is very, very good. Sometimes you need to be a bit more balanced in the races and manage a bit better situation, but for sure is very good in quality. Domi is as well a very, very good driver. In my opinion, on the race, very good, very solid. So considering the penalties that can be possible in a track like France, I believe it can be a very good lineup, very solid for the first one.
Yes, indeed. And then on to the second one, we have Dominic Lovecchia returning alongside Dario Yamulo for the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, that's going to be the Spanish team's home race, and we'll talk to them about that in a little while. But is that a race that your team, you're feeling happy with that one as well?
Yeah, overall, I mean, we feel happy about every single track. I believe that one is going to be a bit tricky. It's the trickiest one because it's not even really in our control. So obviously, we need to see where we will start in the second race, and then we must try to drive as clean as we can to get as many points as we can, obviously, in that one.
Absolutely. And then for the third and final race of today at the Circuit of the Americas in the USA, you yourself will be hopping into the car alongside Alessio Di Caprio once again. From your own personal perspective, is this a track you particularly like? And are you excited to have the season ender coming in Texas?
Oh, personally, I like it, but problem was that during the full year, I didn't have a lot of chances to race in this track because actually in the F1 esports season there wasn't, and I didn't do a lot of races overall on this track. I mean, probably zero. This is the first one that I'm doing in this game on this track. I've done just one in ORL during the season, last season, I believe, in a short version of it. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I believe that is tricky as well because apart from pace, a lot of chances of cutting corners to have the invalidation during your quali lap. So definitely it's gonna be a challenge, but we'll see. I mean, we are here to race, to try, and then whatever happen.
Absolutely, yeah, and certainly a track I'm looking forward to. I think you always get some pretty fun racing going on there in the southern US. But so let's now shift the attention a little bit. Think about the other two teams you're up against, because primarily, of course, it's Team Spain and Team Hungary that you guys are in the battle with for the overall victory in this thing. Which of the teams are you more afraid of, and what are the sort of strengths and weaknesses, perhaps, of each of those teams?
Well, we are speaking about two very good teams. I mean, in both teams there are esports guys. So obviously, I mean, we are speaking about high-level competitors. Dani and Alvaro for Team Spain are definitely very good in terms of pace, very experienced in terms of overall race environment. So obviously, they start as a favorite in my view today and tonight and in the last few weeks. So we will try to battle them. It's not going to be easy, but we try. Obviously, we are in the same position, I believe, of Hungary on overall standings. So our main battle will be try to be in front of Hungarian team every race and be sure that we are at least second at the end of the night. And even this thing is more easy to say and more difficult to do because we have Berezny that is a very, very good driver for them, plus other that obviously have a very good pace like Sabo. So it's going to be interesting. There is not a real favorite for tonight. Probably Spain because it's just a bit in front. But as I said, it's going to be a big fight, and I hope that it's going to be fun.
And obviously, one of our title sponsors, of course, is MOBIUZ Gaming. Now, I was wondering, we're doing this whole monitor giveaway sort of situation. How much does having a really, really good monitor, like the ones available from MOBIUZ, how much does that help you when it comes to sim racing? How much of a difference does a really good quality monitor make?
Well, it is crucial for us, especially. I mean, obviously, when you're looking for performance in a video game of sim racing, you need to have everything set more or less at the maximum, or in a way that, I mean, you know that your game is fluid enough to be precise in every corner. So obviously the monitor is you can have a very good computer with a bad monitor and the performance are not good enough. So the monitor is obviously what you see in front of you, and the fluidity of that kind of monitor can obviously make the difference in a game of sim racing.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with that. And are there any final words you'd like to say, Daniele, before we let you go and get prepared as a team, rather, for the race?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Were there any final words you'd like to have before we let you go?
No, I mean, I hope you enjoy this last evening. I personally want to thank you guys for the work you have been doing during these weeks. It has been complicated for you sometimes, but it's been very successful probably for for the way you approach and you never give up in situations. So for me, is a huge honor to be part of this championship, and I'm happy to try to give you my best till the last race.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's incredibly kind of you, Daniele. And it's been a pleasure to watch yourself and the rest of Team Italy participating throughout the season.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Best of
See
luck.
you later. Bye-bye.
All right, and now I believe we are ready for our second interview of the day. I believe we have a certain Danny Beresne joining us here in the commentary box. Hello, Danny.
Hi, guys.
Hi, so are you feeling confident going into this one? Of course, Hungary had the lead going into the previous event, lost it to Team Spain, and now you find yourselves a little bit further away from Spain, on par at the moment with Team Italy. How confident do you feel in your ability to sort of drag your team back up to the top?
Yeah, I feel good, to be honest. These are pretty nice tracks to race on, all the three of them. But I know that others are pretty fast as well, and as F1 2021 close beta was released, it's really dragged some of our drivers' focus. So I'm really curious to see how much people prioritized the next year already, only in this couple of days compared to this one. But to be honest, I feel like it's never enough to practice. For an example, at this moment I am driving a Spain race simulation as well while you're speaking, because it's just really crucial to perform on the day and be warmed in and be in the correct rhythm.
Absolutely. And how is that race sim going, by the way? Is this one going well?
Yeah, I don't have any warnings yet, so the game didn't punish me for being a really bad boy and extending track limits. Lap times are consistent, so that's all I need.
Indeed. Well, congratulations on that, at least. And today, you will be driving all three races. You've got France, Spain, and the USA. Is there any one of those tracks that you're particularly looking forward to above any of the others?
USA, because it's the last race now. I'm just joking. That's one of my favorite tracks. Actually, it's maybe the second or third favorite after Spa-Francorchamps and China. So I'm really looking forward to the qualifying session as well and the race itself, because it just offers a nice variety of strategy with the tire wear and possibilities to undercut or come back very strong with fresher tires. At the end of the race, there are plenty of great overtaking opportunities where you can not only overtake but make it look pretty good, because there are multiple lines to take in most of the corners and drivers' creativity comes into priority.
Indeed. Creativity and being able to see different drivers expressing themselves in different ways is always a very, very fun thing to watch. And of course, with you racing all three races, you're going to have two different teammates in that time. First race in France, that's going to be Norbert Jakob alongside you, and the other two, Ben Sabokonyi. Is there any sort of reason behind that particular decision-making of who's going to be driving alongside you at each race?
Yeah, so it's all about who is the faster and more consistent in the team, and Benz was faster than them in the last two circuits, while Norbert is pretty good even compared to F1 Esports Pro standards in France. So that's why we choose to use that lineup. And also it's just more effective to prepare for circuits when you don't have to focus on all three. You can pick one or two, and then you are more productive and you can achieve better results as a team, and the Drivers' Championship really doesn't matter. We don't even count it.
Indeed, yeah, and you know that's really fascinating to hear. Actually, especially I'm liking the hype actually around Norbert Jakob here. Maybe on F1 Esports Pro Series levels of pace in France. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Then I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Daniele as well just beforehand about the other two teams that you're up against here. So you're against Italy and Spain. Do you see one team as bigger rivals for you here, and are you more afraid of one team or the other?
It's definitely Spain who are the favorites. They have two pretty strong pro drivers, and also they are leading the championship. And to be honest, if they weren't penalized in the first round and wouldn't have lost so many points, then they would already be leading by even a bigger margin and probably be champions by now. So we are a little bit back on them on pace and on the results, but obviously it's Formula 1. As we saw today, anything can happen even in the virtual world. So we are doing our best to come back into the lead, but obviously P2 is also pretty nice and we cannot make risky decisions just to win, but then lose even out to Italy. So it all needs to be very consistent and precise and get at least one of the two positions, second or first.
Absolutely, yeah. And then outside of those, of yourself and then the Team Spain and Team Italy, are there any drivers in particular from any of the other teams, you know, the other 7 teams in the standings? Are you a bit worried about what any of them can do, or do you think you should be relatively safe to the rest of those guys?
To be honest, all drivers in this grid can make surprises and step out on performance. We usually see the top 10 being separated by only 2 or 3 tenths of a second, and that's a pretty tight margin, so even a guy usually out of the top 10 can win a race and get pole position. So to be honest, I never pick on drivers to see who are my biggest threats and who are easier to beat, because I treat them and everyone the same way.
I see. I think that's a very, very mature, very sensible perspective to have on it going into the races. And then finally, from me here, I'm just going to ask you a quick question, of course, about the sponsorships we have and about the prize giveaways we have at the moment. I mean, do you have any views? Have you been able to check out the MOBIUZ prize giveaway? And what do you think of it?
Yeah, I was able to check it out, and it's pretty good, both for viewers and both for the drivers. Because as I'm hearing, one viewer will win a monitor, and also the top 3 wins pretty good prizes, which always helps gameplay. For an example, a headset always helps with not only hearing our engine sounds and shifting rate, but it's comfortable, so you can play for 8 to 10 hours a day practicing for esports events. It's pretty important to have it comfortable, otherwise you are a bit annoyed with that and then you will lose focus. The monitors are crucial because that's basically the only place where we can actually see our virtual world. There is some feedback from the pedals and the wheel itself, but the monitor is the most important. The car always needs to react in a way we want to, and that's the response time that needs to be the minimum. And yeah, also some of the teams and drivers will win some prize money as well, which is pretty good to improve their equipments or just even get some motivation.
Indeed, yeah. Thank you very, very much for that insight, Danny. And I'll let you get on with your race sim then at Spain. Best of luck for the races today, and thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I expect pretty soon we'll be able to speak to our third and final driver. But for the time being, Badgerman, is there anything else you'd like to talk about on the run-up here?
I mean, while we are waiting, we can quickly go into both the format for this evening and the standings, since you've mentioned both of them quite a bit already for the viewers to just quickly catch up on it. So these are the 3 tracks that we are going to be visiting tonight. It will be France first with a short quali and 25% race. Then it will be followed up by Spain, the home race for the leading country, with a reverse grid and 25% race. And then finally we have COTA, the Circuit of the Americas in the USA, as the final round, another short quali plus 25% race. For those of you who don't know what a short quali is, 1 session, 18 minutes, 4 sets of tires at most, and whoever has the fastest time gets pole position. And just to quickly look at the standings, because we have talked about them, it is mighty close between the top 3 here. Spain, Hungary, Italy. Spain leading by only 14 points over both Hungary and Italy, who are tied for second. That's just remarkable. I mean, after all of these races, we've had 13 rounds, but really because 2 races didn't count, so we had 11 races that counted. And after 11 races, we have 2 nations that are completely tied. And the tiebreaker, I think, is more wins which we will get to in a second, but Hungary has, I think, 1 or 2 more than Italy, and so they just come out on top for now. But that all can change. Spain, 14 points ahead. That is not a safe lead whatsoever. If we look quickly at the point system, we see here a win gives you 25. A 5th place gets you those 14 points. So if one of the drivers really slips up, ends up outside the top 15, well, 5th place is enough to draw even. And that's all it takes. So a lot of opportunities still there. We've seen double podiums before. We've seen it in Italy for Italy last week. The home team, maybe the Spaniards can repeat that for themselves tonight. They have their home race obviously come up tonight, and so a lot can happen. Let's just quickly look at the tracks as well. You all know them anyway, but it's wonderful to just see them there as well. Paul Ricard, the longest of the tracks and the lengthiest as well. It's very slim, but yeah, it's an interesting track for sure. You got a lot of high speed, you got a lot of difficult corners in the final sector. Then we move on to Spain, a track that not a lot of drivers like from what I can hear, but at the same time, at least on the game, it's one that always produces pretty good racing. It's surprisingly different to real life, where Spain is always a bit of a boring one, and you know, maybe should have been replaced with a track like Aragon. That might be better for F1 racing. But in the game, every single time I've watched a race on F1 2020 on Spain, it's been truly remarkable. And then Circuit of the Americas, personally one of my favorite tracks. Not number 1, but certainly in the top 25% of tracks, let's say top 5, top 6 roughly. A lot of difficult corners there, long straights to overtake. You've got everything you want, and it's a very tricky track as well for 2 reasons. One, just like Paul Ricard, the track limits can really get you, and 2, that's different to both Paul Ricard and Barcelona. Tire temperatures around the Circuit of the Americas might be a bit of an issue, at least on the soft tire. So the drivers are going to have to watch out for that. They're going to have to make sure they don't overheat the tires, and that they keep them in a good shape to actually extract maximum pace.
Absolutely. And actually, now you mention it, thinking about Spain and it being better on the game, I think I've commentated on upwards of 75 races on F1 2020 over the course of the last year. I don't think a single one of those has been at Spain, unless I'm mistaken. I can't think of a race that I've commentated at Spain, which is interesting. So it's going to be sort of new ground for me in that regard as well, actually. And we'll see. It'll be interesting. I hope you're right, and I believe that you are right about it being a much better track in game than it is in real life. And a lot of circuits seem to fit that mold. It's same with Sochi, actually same with Circuit Paul Ricard as well, which we have today, which has produced some of the best racing I've seen on the F1 games, and it really doesn't do that in real life. So I think actually, you know, if you're looking at these 3 tracks from the perspective of real life F1, it's maybe not the 3 most exciting tracks in the world. The USA is always good, but the other 2 not so much. But in the context of it being on F1 2020, I think it is actually a super exciting trio of tracks, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what sort of show the drivers are going to be able to put on for us here.
Yeah, and as Danny Beresne said, talking about Barcelona, Catalunya a bit more, he said it's a track where the drivers will have to get a bit creative. Of course, you have the long main straight where overtakes will come easy, but then you have a lot of corners where you can take a couple of different lines and they all kind of work. And that really opens up opportunities. I think one fantastic overtaking opportunity is turn 5. It's the left-hander after the famous Hamilton-Rosberg incident corner. And it's a really good overtaking opportunity because, again, through turns 3 and 4, you have a multitude of lines that you can choose and sort of set up an overtake into turn 5, and it actually works. It's very rare on the calendar, and it doesn't even work in real life. It just works on the game. Thankfully, it does. You don't need a long straight, a massive run-up. As long as you get the better exit out of turn 4, you prioritize the exit, then you can easily get a position. Well, not easily, but you can definitely get a position into turn 5. Of course, at the end of the back straight is another opportunity in the final sector. Other than that, not so much really, but definitely a couple of overtaking opportunities in turn 5 is the one I would look out for the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya.
Yeah, and the thing about that as well is that the when you make the overtakes in Barcelona, obviously the issue in real life is that you don't really get a lot of overtakes. When you do, it's actually pretty good for allowing cars to continue going side by side for a fair few corners after turn 1. The fight can kind of continue for half a lap sometimes. And that is what you want. You don't want the move to just be done straight away, like maybe some of the moves we saw in Baku were earlier, for instance. Sorry about that. So it's kind of fun in that regard. And Sector 3 as well at Circuit of the Americas has that exact same charm. Once you come out of turn 12 at the end of that DRS straight at the back straight, that's the primary overtaking spot. But you see cars going side by side through the next 4 or 5 corners, sometimes all the way to 18. And yeah, I mean, you get some really, really fascinating action coming through in that regard as well.
Yeah, and just to quickly talk about, we were supposed to have Alvaro Carreton on, but he is not going to be joining us, unfortunately, and we can't get any hold of any of the drivers from Team Spain, it seems. So unfortunately, we're going to have to sort of cancel that third pre-race interview. But instead, what we can do is just keep you up to speed on what happened last week.
Lined up on the grid, they are ready for the start of the race. Here come the lights, and the Italian eyes look on from the front row, and we get underway here in Italy. And it looks like a clean start for both of the Italian drivers immediately. Haddad drops into formation behind Alessio Di Capua, trying his best to make sure that no Spaniards can find their way through. But look at that. That is forceful from Alvaro Carreton. And if anything, it's damaged his team's chances, because that ended up with a domino effect pushing Danny Moreno wide. The Italians hang on. It's Di Capua from Haddad, and then a whole gaggle of cars going side by side through Curva Grande. Danny Moreno is holding on to third for now. Then it's Tarabukin and Stahulet who are side by side into De La Rogia here, and they will keep going side by side. It's the inside line for Lesmo 1 for Piotr Stahulet, and that means that Andrei Tarabukin will just have to settle down behind him. Carreton, as a result of his dive bomb into turn 1, has fallen down into 6th. Then you have Vallejo, Zaboconi, Berezne, and Zella. The top 10 are still the top 10, but there have been some shifts.
I gotta say, I love the aggression there from Tarabukin. And
let's see where Haddad is going to come out relative to his teammate Alessio Di Capua right now. And indeed, they are going to remain in formation. Alessio just about ahead of Haddad on the pit exit, and Haddad is not going to challenge him over that position. No egos here in the Italian team. Haddad allowing Di Capua to maintain the lead, and that is exactly what...
Oh, I think he just cut out there. I hope we're...
Impressive. Tarabukin is the lead driver with a penalty right now. Here comes Carreton, really close behind Stahulets, and late defense there from Piotr Stahulets. He goes back to the racing line. He gives Carreton the inside, I think realizing maybe that his defense was a little bit on the late side, and that allows Carreton to get through into Parabolica. So we are back into a situation where we have the 2 Italians leading from the 2 Spaniards. There goes Berezne also taking advantage of Piotr Stahulet. He and Haddad are planning on physically trying to block as much of the road as they can. We'll see. What are they going to do? Now is the chance for Danny Moreno. It's towards the inside of Parabolica. He's alongside, but not quite enough. And Haddad breaking around the outside. They're still going to be side by side, but on the exit, you will see Danny Moreno absolutely punching it with the overtake button, and he moves up into second place. Carreton not close enough to take advantage, but it is still Di Capua leading, with Moreno now in second, Haddad in third, Alvaro Carreton fourth, Berezne still holding on in fifth as well.
I mean, this is remarkable. Can Moreno gain 0.6 of a second here? It seems like Di Capua has enough ERS for this final lap of the race to just defend and...
Here comes Carreton around the outside of Haddad. Haddad just has nothing left anymore. He's got the oldest tyres, he's got the lowest battery, and as a result, Alvaro Carreton has also been able to snap him up And now it's looking like a double podium for Team Spain. Alessio Di Capua is still running at the front. Oh, and Beresne with a 3-second time penalty through Lesmo 2. He's going to take Haddad here on the rundown to Ascari, but it's not going to matter because of that 3-second time penalty. So unless he can get that removed afterwards, this move is all for naught. And Beresne is due to fall down into 7th position once this race comes to its conclusion. But at the front, Di Capua will not have this taken away from him. His race has been squeaky clean. He has led it effectively from start to finish, and he will cross the line to win in Italy. On the reverse grid pole here in Japan as the lights come on. For the second time today, we are underway in the ORL and FuturEsports Nations Cup. And it looks to me like Zeller has had a good start off the line. He's leading the way from Pablo Hoglar. The soft tires working out a treat there for Zeller, who jumps Hoglar and takes the lead. Christian Sendel in third. Zvetkov still there in fourth. Bial has also made a position there. So the United Nations drivers both having a great start off the line.
Yeah, it's going really well for them. Meanwhile, who didn't have...
Quickly looking down the order, it seems like Team Italy has been the biggest loser as a result of the pit stops behind the safety car, because Daniele Haddad, even though he was the lead of the two, he didn't have to double stack himself, but he seems to have actually lost out a little bit anyway. He must have been held badly in the pit lane to find himself behind Tara Buchan. And oh, there's 4 penalties that just came through due to contact between drivers, and I'm not sure if that was accurate or not. Those might be removed at the end of the race if they can be, but we are back underway once again, and already Zeller's taking a look out at the front. Here comes Stahulet on Beresne just behind as well. Zvetkov and Pablo Hoglar also going side by side through the S section. Hoglar ahead of Zvetkov. Beresne holds off the challenge from Piotr Stahulet. And it's still Caraton and Pfefferman leading from Zeller, Hoglar, Zvetkov, Sendel, Beresne, Stahulet, Bial, Danny Moreno. That is your top 10 as we run onto lap 4 here of the Japanese Grand Prix. An issue through Dunlop. He's round, and that is such a shame for him because he was ready to go on a charge with those fresh, soft tires. Further up, Zvetkov is losing out now to Ruben Vallejo, who makes the move once again in the hairpin. That's going to be Zvetkov's least favourite corner as he makes contact with Kruti on the exit. And he might be finding himself losing yet another position. Further up, Zeller and Pablo Hoglar were going side by side into Spoon. But Hoglar just holds on to first position in this race. A major snap of oversteer on the exit of Spoon for Zeller. And that might give the opportunity for Beresne. Smelling blood in the water right now is the Hungarian driving that Alfa Romeo, currently in third. He needs to get past Zeller now to make sure he has an opportunity to get past Pablo Hoglar into the final lap. But there's Danny Moreno all the way around the outside. It's Danny Moreno. And that might mean that Beresne has lost the position when he thought he was going to gain one. Bial is going to be involved in this, potentially in this fight as well. He doesn't look to get involved, steps away from it, not deploying the overtake. And Beresne cannot fight back either. So Danny Moreno taking advantage of Beresne getting blocked off.
Count as one. This is the final overtaking opportunity, and it seems like Pablo Hoglar is going to be able to bring it across the line and take the victory for Team Europe.
Fantastic result then for Pablo Hoglar, fighting off the challenge of Zeller. Christoph Zeller, who manages a podium for the United Nations team, and Danny Moreno gets his second podium in 2 races, having, as the drivers are now all in position on the grid. It's Danny Moreno will be starting from pole, and Alessio Di Capua just alongside him, as the lights are once again all lit up, and we are underway quickly here in Brazil. And Danny Moreno gets a very, very clean start indeed off the line. Alessio switches to the outside line to try and find a way past, but he cannot do so, and he has to settle down in second. Caraton still there in third, with Beresne just behind in fourth. And then you have the second racing point of Daniele Haddad, then Piotr Stahulet and Vallejo, and they've all pretty much held position off the start.
Yeah, only 4 drivers are in different positions. Now a bit more as we see Sendel falling down the order into 19th. He was hung out to dry, it seems, there through turns 4 and 5. But Danny Moreno keeps the lead, and in the top 12, no one has switched position. Beresne will take second. I'm not sure if Di Capua and Haddad will take third and fourth. This is where Danny Moreno might be spat out back on track. In fact, well, we can't see him, but there he is. And yeah, he's right behind Beresne, but ahead of both Italians.
Yeah, and that's really big news for Moreno because, of course, he was behind DiCaprio when the Italian came into the pit lane. So that's a monster attempt there, a monster in-lap from Danny Moreno. Impeccable today, and all they need is a race win. At the moment, Alvaro Caraton is in prime position to claim that form.
Yeah, and Danny Moreno doesn't even have to do anything. Danny Beresne has a 5-second penalty that will also not be removed, but here goes Moreno on Beresne. As I say that, if we can finally see that, there we go, from the outside. Moreno round the outside of turn 2 of Danny Beresne, and he gets the move done. So it is Moreno now up into second. He didn't have to do anything. He still did it.
For 2 points in this race. So that is all they are going to be looking at in this one, unfortunately, as things currently stand. Meanwhile, at the front, Danny Moreno has been allowed to pass Alvaro Caraton. He has the fresher tyres. And as a result, he wants to lead the way and see what he can do out there. Alessio Di Capua is still there in third, and they got to worry about the Italian. It's not over yet, but they are in a very, very strong position with very sound footing in still there. None of them able to make significant imprints as they're coming up towards the line now. Danny Moreno leading the way. He's had 2 podiums on the day. He's letting Caraton back through as they come across the line. Team Spain get a 1-2 in Brazil, and Alvaro Caraton is gifted. Back then, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of a blast from the past from last weekend's races. And here's just another little recap of the results that we saw in those races.
Yeah, first off, we're looking at Italy here, and it was an Italian 1-3 as Alessio Di Capua won the race and Daniela Haddad got third. Danny Moreno splitting the 2 Italians, and overall in the standings, that made it look like this Italy got themselves 41 points, Spain 31, so they only lost about 10, Hungary 26, and then it went further down with France and Turkey both scoring 0. We then went on to Japan, and it was Pablo Hoglar who got the win with Christoph Zeller in second, and then Danny Moreno in third. And the points scored looked like this. Team Europe had a fantastic day at this round 12 of 13 so far, with 3 more to come. They got 35 points, and the Team United Nations, a new team entering 29, getting second place there. Spain 24, Hungary 20, Italy 16. That kept it all very, very up close and personal. Round 3 then, another Italian double podium. This time, however, they got beaten by Danny Moreno. Alvaro Caraton, as you saw there in the highlights, was the first one to cross the line. However, he got penalized out of his victory again for what has to be the probably the 14th time in 13 races, it feels like. And once again, he ends up not being on the podium. Very, very unfortunate. However, Spain still got the most points with 41 here. Italy got 39, Hungary 26, Poland 16, and then there was slim pickings for the drivers and teams behind. That had the following effect on the standings. We showed them a bit earlier, but we'll show them again. Spain 258, Hungary, Italy both at 244. 14 points between the top 3 teams as they're heading now into France.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get in, the drivers are now in for the qualifying session. Let's quickly run you through the lineups we are seeing here in the first race of the day.
Yeah, let's start off with the championship leaders. It is, of course, Spain. Driving for them will be Alvaro Caraton and Danny Moreno, the stable duo.
Yeah, for Hungary, we've got Danny Beresne and, as we've heard from him, Norbert Jakob, who we're expecting big things from here in France.
Italy, our third championship challengers, will have Domenico Lovecce and Alessio Di Capua drive for them, and we heard that earlier as well.
The Polish team will have Patrick Kruti as usual, and alongside him will be the reserve driver Mateusz Wepech, who will be participating in his first races of the Nations Cup.
Team EU, coming fresh off their victory, are fielding a Team Ruben in Ruben Pedreño and Ruben Vallejo.
For the French, we have the duo that we saw introduced to us last weekend with Sucor and Balati.
The Turkish squad will field Kagan Süleymanoglu and Alp Ozkaya.
And the United Nations team, that's going to be Christoph Zeller, and of course alongside him, Bial.
For the Russians, we have Denis Bukhenkov and German Kalamin.
And finally, for the Germans, we will have Christian Sendel and Miguel Pfeffermann.
And with that, we will head into qualifying right now, so we'll be right back with the action. So here we are, and we have 15 minutes still left in the session, and we are looking at the driver who was hailed by his teammate in the pre-race interview. We are looking at Norbert Jakob right now, as he is on a run, as 19 of the 20 drivers are, with Alessio Di Capua being on an outlap. So very busy out there, and I think the reason for that is pretty clear, because Ferenc just put it in the chat. I think he's one of the engineers for the Hungarian team. He just posted there that there will be rain coming over the course of this qualifying session.
Absolutely. So a mad scramble then to get the laps in, and extra pressure for these first few laps for the drivers here. I wonder if anyone's going to put a bit more fuel in the car, maybe to get 2 runs in. Alvaro Caraton puts in the first lap time at 1:26.666. Domenico Lecce can't really get very close to that. He's on a flat 1:27. Danny Moreno there now to the top. Jakob couldn't quite match Domenico Lecce on that occasion. Danny Berezne, he is getting into the final sector of his lap. Few more drivers will be coming across the line. Christoph Zeller has moved up into 5th. Süleymanoglu into 6th. Everyone who's posting a lap time at the moment is going straight to the bottom, including Bukhenkov there, who goes into 8th. I think that was Ruben Vallejo, who's been able to get between Lecce and Team Spain. And that could be, Team Europe could definitely give the Spanish A team a bit of a boost by getting themselves in that particular mix. Here comes Berezne, who moves up into 3rd, ahead then of Ruben Vallejo, with Norbert Jakob only a few places back.
I mean, those are some stellar times there for both of the Spaniards, Moreno and Caraton. Moreno 4/10 clear of the first non-Spaniard, and that's Berezne, and Caraton almost 3/10 clear. So remarkable lap times here from both of the Spanish drivers so far, but we have another driver coming here in Alessio Di Capua. Remember, he was the last one to start his lap, and so he will be the last one to finish his lap as well. So he's on his way now.
He's got bad news, though. He invalidated back in turn 7. He ran wide on that very long right-hander, which is so inviting to just try and take a little bit more throttle through there, because that's going to set you up for the main straight, the Mistral straight, of course. And Di Capua fell victim to that particular trap. And now, with the sky darkening by the second, he's got to nail this very next lap. And hopefully for him, he's got enough fuel in the car to get this lap in.
Yeah, he's going to try for sure. That is clear. But will it be enough? Oh, he starts sliding through the final corner. That will not set him up well for his lap. He weaves a little bit to keep the tires warm, I think.
Okay, for a second I thought he'd invalidated the second run. That's not true. He's still going. But he's down in 0 ERS mode. He's not got hot lap mode enabled right now. And I can't really think of a reason why, unless actually the rain isn't going to be coming for another 5 minutes or so as he invalidates again there through turn 3. Alessio Di Capua struggling then to get this lap together at the beginning of qualifying. And if the rain comes sooner than he's expecting, that is going to be an absolute disaster for Team Italy.
Yeah, but the question remains then, why did he not go straight into the pit lane? If he's going for hot lap mode, or not hot lap mode, for no ERS deployment and going slow through the track, why did he not enter the pit lane?
I think he's run out of fuel, you know. I'm not
no.
entirely sure. This could be...
Yeah, he seems incredibly slow right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no. This is absolute disaster for Team Italy, as Di Capua is crawling back to the pit lane at a pace of 196 kilometers an hour, when normally you would go over 300 through here. And he needs to keep up as much pace as possible. You see this here? This is so painful to watch. 180, he's slowing down more because he has to take this corner properly. 140, and yeah, the acceleration clearly shows that he is not really having enough fuel in the car. I don't know why he even stayed out. He is now entering the pit lane again. Thankfully for him, it hasn't rained just yet, as he is now finally back in the pits. But the rain can come at any moment, and at that point, well, he won't have another chance to set a good lap time.
The rain is falling. The rain has begun to fall out there on the circuit. I'm seeing the first few drops right now. And to be fair, it's not exactly the lightest rain I've ever seen. Usually it takes a while. You see a couple of drops. It takes a while to pick up. I'm seeing more than a couple drops at the moment. It's still a dry track condition, but only going to be the case for the next minute or so. And then you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you are Alessio Di Capua. I cannot for the life of me understand why he stayed out there. I simply cannot think of a reason. He didn't even get close to having enough fuel to complete that lap. He knew that lap was going to be invalid, the first one he went on. And maybe he realized that either way he wasn't going to be able to get out there before the rain came. But still, you'd want to be out there when the rain's at its lightest if you're going against the other guys that invalidated. So I'm really puzzled by that decision there. Meanwhile, here comes Ruben Pedreño, who might just be the final driver who can set a dry lap time. And even that, I'm not sure, as I think the track is now pretty damp. He's coming up towards the line. Is that Ferrari? Let's see. And he manages 11th. He does beat a few times there. So I think he just about managed to get enough out of the circuit. But he might well be the last to do so. Balati about to cross the line as well. And he only goes into 15th. So yeah, I think that track is really dampening up now.
Yeah, I think at this point we will not see any further improvements. So most likely this is going to end up a Spanish front row. And I mean, if you've ever wanted to set yourself up to win a championship at your home race, this is how you do it in the race right before. You get a 1-2. And I think their hope is going to be to get that, or their goal is going to be to get that one to the end of the race as well. We don't know the conditions for the race, obviously. It could be completely bone dry. It could continue to rain as well. We absolutely have no idea what is about to expect, or what is about to happen to the drivers, what they are about to witness here in terms of weather condition. But yeah, if this is how qualifying goes, I mean, there could be something interesting happening in the race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sucor is committing to setting this lap. Gregory Sucor for Team France. He's coming around the final corner. He's on soft tyres. So he is going to register this lap time, but I can't imagine it's going to be any good whatsoever as he crosses the line. He beats Debelek's time there, who is, I think, a last-minute substitution for Alpozskaya in the Turkish team, by the way. Alp not participating in this race. Not entirely sure why that is, but Debelek is there to replace him. Alessio Di Capua is on an outlap, and Matthias Vepek in his first race here in the Nations Cup, he's also out there. But these guys, at best, they're going to try and beat Debelek's time, but I doubt they're even going to be able to do that, to be honest. Vepek is coming around the final corner now, so let's see if Matthias has been able to find enough grip from the dampened racetrack here to have a reasonable lap time. Across the line with a 1:29.2, and it does beat Debelek, so he gets himself one extra slot on the grid.
Yeah, for Di Capua, it's going to be an absolute struggle. We are on board here with him. And yeah, it's really, really difficult to navigate this track here. He's really struggling. You can tell clearly how much he is struggling as he now heads through or past the Mistral straight into the mid-Mistral chicane. And now onto towards the final sector of this lap, and yeah, it's not looking good, as it doesn't look fast. Did he invalidate? Because he's running really slow, like slower than he would.
He's not invalidated. He's still going out there, but I think he's realized that all he's doing is putting a lap time on the board. And to be honest, there's not really even much point in that for Alessio, as he almost loses the car through turn 12, holds on to it. And I guess he's going to complete this lap time here as he comes around the penultimate corner. Now the final corner of 15. You can see how much he was struggling to get the nose to respond to him there. Up towards the line then for Alessio Di Capua, someone we might have had in the conversation for pole position, commits to a 1:29.997, stone dead last on the grid. And now I think it's just up to the drivers to retire from the session. Nothing left to happen in these last 6 minutes now. With the rain coming down, there's no way anyone could improve. So I think everyone will just be retiring and will be getting into the race a little bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah, well, not everyone's retiring. We see Debilet's on an outlap here. Don't know if that's the right call. And on the softs as well. I'm not sure he's going to improve. In fact, I'm very sure he's not going to improve. But yeah, we have only 4 cars who haven't retired yet. Other than that, everyone in the pit lane already decided, you know what, this is not going to get better. So we'll just end it early. And Debilet's, I don't know. I mean, he gives us something to look at, and that's nice, you know. Everyone else is in the pit lane, so at least he gives us a little bit of that. But really, you know, I think it would be easier if we had Caraton, Vallejo, and Debilet's just there you go, Caraton retires. If we had just all 3 of them retiring, and then we could move on 5 minutes early. And Debilet's is the last one out right there. The question is, will he return to the pit lane immediately, or will he try to actually set another lap time? I can't see him do that, to be honest. It's just, the conditions are way too bad at this point.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's now realized that he's the only one who hasn't retired from the session as well. So we'll see what the option is going to be here for Debilet. If he stays out, he's probably not going to be the most popular driver in the paddock, because a lot of these guys will be sitting there sort of getting cold in their sim rigs, and he is staying out by the look of things, and they'll be thinking, I want to keep the momentum going, especially the Spanish team, who have put in such stellar lap times here, by the way. I want to quickly talk about that right now, because look at the lap times they have compared to Danny Berezne in third. And also, hats off to Ruben Vallejo, who's come within a whisker of Danny Berezne's time and beaten out Domenico Leveche. But Danny Moreno on a 126.5, Alvaro Caraton on a 126.6, and then it's down 0.3 from Caraton in second to Berezne in third. Norbert Jakob didn't necessarily quite bring that high level of pace we were expecting, and who knows whether he'd been able to sort that out as the qualifying went on, but 7th isn't bad for him. Christian Sendel as well. Big result for him and Team Germany, with him qualifying 6th there.
Yeah, he might be able to, I hope at least, replicate. I mean, usually we'd try to be impartial, but if there's Team Germany and I'm German, you know, I gotta root for them a little bit. You know, maybe there's something possible, as DRS is now fully disabled. I think that's the final notice to Debilet to say, hey, these conditions are not it. This is not working. I hope he gets that notice. But yeah, I hope that maybe, you know, there's going to be some kind of a story that we saw earlier. Oh, he spins off. Oh, yeah, that's how tricky it is out there. And he retires on track. So that is the end of the qualifying. Yeah, so I was trying to say that that Sendel potentially may give us a performance comparable to what Sebastian Vettel did today in the real-life Baku Grand Prix. Maybe even a German podium possible, at least with one driver. But right now it is a Spanish one. Hey, one can dream, okay? I heard that laugh. One can dream. A Spanish 1-2, in fact, a Spanish 1-2-4 really, but only 1 and 2 count for the Spanish team, Moreno and Caraton, and then 4/10 from Moreno down. We have Berezne for Hungary in P3 with Jakob in P7. Not that bad of a result for Jakob, I think. Still close, still there, still with a possibility, but we have to talk about Team Italy, I think. Leveche, he did a good job there in P5, but at the same time, Alessio Di Capua all the way down in 20th.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a case where Domenico Leveche is kind of disappointed with his own lap time, and Alessio Di Capua is going to be distraught with it. I mean, it was his mistake. He took too much through turn 6. He was well off circuit. It wasn't even one of those sort of debatable track extensions. He was all 4 wheels comfortably off track. And yeah, it's just, you know, in that situation, when you know the rain's coming, you need to make sure you get the safest lap time in that you possibly can. And he just wasn't able to do that. And it's such a shame, because we know that he, in terms of raw pace, he's one of the top 4 drivers here, I believe. But, you know, with this qualifying now, his target will have shifted. He'll be looking at 15th on the grid and reverse grid pole.
Yeah, most likely. I think he might look at potentially maybe trying to get into the top 10 if he can, just to make sure that he gives himself a better position than all of his competitors for the reverse grid race, but at the same time still get some points from this one. I think you can maximize yourself that way if you decide, you know, maybe P10, and then you go on and get some overtakes done on the drivers that are close to your level, but maybe not the exact same level. I mean, begrudgingly, I have to say, I'm thinking of Team Germany here, unfortunately. Team Russia, you know, the teams that came in as reserve teams after other drivers and other teams have decided to leave the event prematurely. I think, you know, DiCapua is at a slightly higher level. At the same time, the whole grid is at a very high level. Like, we're talking, you know, the difference between... you know, if we have to say that in real life terms, the difference between a Lewis Hamilton and a Mick Schumacher, you know, some people that are a bit more inexperienced, that are a bit younger, and that still have to learn the ropes compared to, I mean, champions, really. I mean, we look at some of the drivers, we look at Moreno, Caraton, Beresne, DiCapua, Lovece, Haddad, you know, all these F1 Esports Pro Series drivers. Of course, they have a lot more experience, as Moreno is carrying around a bollard.
Yeah, he's actually taken out 2 bollards. So those little yellow bollards. He's taken out 2 on this lap so far. And both times, it looked kind of intentional. Now, I wonder if he's sort of thinking maybe some other drivers rely a little bit on those yellow bollards. And what if I take them out before we start? I don't know. That's just an idea. I don't know for certain about that.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm pretty sure it was intentional, but not because other drivers rely on it, but just to clear the track, because you want to maximize track limits as much as you're allowed to. Remember, 2 wheels inside the white lines. And so these yellow bollards are sometimes positioned in a way where they are still potential to be taken out by the cars, and so you do that on the formation lap when it doesn't cost you time, because they do slow the car down a little bit. Not much, it's only about 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, but we all know with the margins that fine, that can make the difference.
Absolutely, it can. Everyone inside the top 10 on soft tires, everyone outside the top 10 on mediums, as now everyone is lined up on the grid for the first time today here in the ORL FuturEsports and Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming here in France. All 5 lights are on and we are underway straight away here. And it looks like an excellent start for Danny Beresne, as well as Danny Moreno. Alvaro Caraton a little bit slow off the start here, and that's going to give Beresne the opportunity in towards turn 1 here. He couldn't quite pull alongside, so it's still the Spanish leading first and second. There's Lovece looking to go around the outside and manages to go around the outside of Ruben Vallejo. Nice move there by the Italian, and he needed to do that to make sure he'd stay up in the battle with the very front runners. Further behind, Christian Sendel and Norbert Jakob are battling. They made a little bit of contact there, but Jakob has been able to dispatch the German. He's up in a 6th.
Yeah, Sendel now under more pressure from Kruti, who is now passed, as well as both of the United Nations team, Bial and Zeller, who are trying to get past the German here as well. And Bial with a fantastic move around the outside, which turns to the inside. And I think there might be slight damage to Sendel's front wing, minor damage. The end plate is not gone, but I think the sort of light green damage on the HUD, on the heads-up display, might show on the left side, because I think that end plate is slight, although both of them look slightly damaged. Maybe that's just how they are shaped for the Mercedes. But at the same time, he might also have damage there as well. Pedreño and Pfefferman get very close there with each other. Lots of things going on this first lap.
Yeah, German Calamin has been round. I think Sucor might have been round as well at the very back. Both of them have fallen off the back of the field. And Alessio Di Capua has front wing damage. And I think he might have been involved in an incident with Calamin there. Because I looked about half a lap ago, Di Capua's wing was clean. Now he has the damage, so he's into the pit lane. And Christian Sendel also into the pit. Looks like he didn't change his wing. He's just done it on pure strategy. Bad news for Alessio, though. He started on mediums. So he has to go on to hards now with this front wing change.
Yeah, that's just painful, really. For Sendel, he was able to go on to medium straight away. Not sure it's the best strategy. Generally, you want to use the softs, at least for a couple of laps, because they are the better tire at the start. But Sendel says, you know what, those softs are done. On to mediums he goes, and he will be able to make it to the end of the race. Before Di Capua, yeah, the softs will not make it. So if the softs don't make it, well, you have to go to the hards, because you've already used the mediums. You started on those, and you have to use 2 different compounds. So Di Capua now down in last once more.
The thing about Alessio Di Capua here is all he needed to do was take 15th. That was what he needed right here. And that should have been what his goal was, right? I mean, obviously, if you get more than that, then grand. But 15th is the minimum. That's what you absolutely need to get. And a driver of his caliber can get that without risking anything. You can play it as safe as you like, and you will still manage to come home at least 15th in this field, surely. Unfortunately for him, he got in. I don't know if it was his fault. It might well not have been. It might have been that Calamine spun in front of him and the contact was made there. I don't know. I didn't see it. But either way, DiCaprio picked up front wing damage after making up 3 positions at the start of the race. He was making good progress, but that has all been thrown away by the fact that he had to come into the pits. And now the fact that he's on hard tyres to the end is, I don't want to call it a nail in a coffin, but it's sort of not looking great for him right now.
Yeah, and I think, as you mentioned, you don't know if it was his fault or not. I'm gonna say this right now. I think with 90+% of all incidents, especially at that level of competition, even more so, it takes 2 for an incident. You can do things to avoid incidents and to avoid damage. Even if it's not your fault and you're not responsible for it, you can still avoid it and make sure that you live to fight another day. And maybe that is DiCaprio's, I don't know, maybe it's his temperament, his inexperience. I don't know what it is, but I think he's going to learn from this one. Maybe he will still be able to get a top 15 result. I wouldn't count him out just yet, considering that there are quite a few cars in front of him that are about 24, 25 seconds away. And he might get them on strategy after their pit stops, because he's already made his. The likes of Sukur, Calamine, Debelet, Buchenkov, Vepec, they have not made theirs just yet.
Yeah, Patrick Kruti now is the next driver into the pit lane for Team Poland. He's going to be getting rid of his soft tires and strapping on a set of mediums in the pit lane, you'd have to imagine. No front wing change here for the Red Bull, so that's all just purely based on strategy. And yep, it's those yellow-walled medium tires that he's putting on that Red Bull as he gets towards the end of the pit lane. Suleyman, meanwhile, picks up the first time penalty of the race in 11th right now for Team Turkey. So he's having a decent race, but that time penalty is not going to help, and his teammate Debelet immediately picks one up thereafter.
Yeah, and that, I was going to say, that might help DiCaprio if he didn't have one himself. 3 seconds for the Italian driver there as well. And Lovece is now going to be the one who has to do some damage limitation here for Team Italy. Otherwise, this is not going to work out in their favor whatsoever. And it's going to be tricky for sure, as we see here who has moved up, who has moved down. I think the best driver so far in all of this was Mateusz Vepec in P13. He's gained 5 places up to P13 for him. But of course, we have still a couple of pit stops left. When I say a couple of pit stops, well, 17 of them at the very least for the top 17 drivers.
Absolutely, yeah. Quickly, just noting, we are aware there is a issue with the game sound right now. Hopefully, we can get that fixed for you. Apparently, the game sound not coming through, so hopefully we can get that one sorted for you guys. As Danny Berezne now into the pits, along with Domenico Lovece and Christoph Zeller. Suleyman also following them into the pit lane. So 4 more drivers into the pit. And Suleyman actually is going from mediums. I imagine he's going to go onto a set of soft tires here in the Haas. The rest of them were already on soft tires, so they will be going for mediums to the end of this race.
Yeah, and I think we have game sound now, but yeah, that a bit unfortunate there. Something is messed up, and I might have to fix that in between the first 2 races, because something is really broken. And if I try and fix it completely, then all of a sudden maybe the whole game is going to crash. And we don't want to do that, so
yeah, let's do that.
We should have sound now. It should be fine, but there's going to be a bigger fix needed at some point later on.
Ruben Pedreño has just been able to get past Miguel Pfefferman there. So that's 6th place now for the Ferrari, and the Mercedes of Team Germany relegated to 7th. Of course, those guys a little bit higher in the order than where they would usually be, because a few drivers ahead of them, Berezne, Lovece, Kruti, Seller, and Sendel have all pitted. So they've been able to gain a few positions as a result of that. Interestingly, both of the Spanish cars still out there at the front, both of those Williams. So one of those is going to have to go at least 2 laps longer than Danny Berezne, and it's going to be Danny Moreno that stays out. So Carreton, being the further behind of the two drivers, he's the one most at risk from Berezne and Leveche here. So it makes sense to pit him first. Let's see where he's going to be relative to the Hungarian team's Alfa Romeo. Danny Berezne entering the third sector now.
Yeah, well, we're seeing the Alfa Romeo here on the screen, and Danny Moreno trying to get the position. This can go either very well or very badly for the Spaniards. Either they both lose their positions to Berezne or they both stay ahead of him. Berezne. We'll see exactly how it goes. And there is Berezne past Carreton. So that does not bode well whatsoever for Danny Moreno, who might also lose a position here, and that might bring the Hungarians back into the fight.
Yeah, maybe they should have pitted Moreno here. Maybe they should have just cut their losses with Alvaro Carreton and said, okay, Danny Moreno, you go into the pits. You will come out ahead of Danny Berezne. We can be pretty certain of that. Instead, they chose to risk it. They chose to try and keep both of their drivers ahead of Berezne, and it has not worked out well for them. Berezne still has a fair amount left in the ERS tank as well, so it's not like he's had to spend all of his resources here to be able to pull the undercut on Alvaro Carreton. However, Carreton now is very, very close behind Danny Berezne, so he might be thinking about getting past the Hungarian sooner rather than later on the run-up towards turn 10. This is his first opportunity, and already he's alongside, and already he's gone straight past Danny Berezne. Fantastic stuff from Alvaro Carreton. Just when we thought Danny Berezne had pulled an advantage on Team Spain, Carreton pulls it right back.
Yeah, now the question is Carreton going to try to slow down Berezne a bit through this twisty section here in the final sector, or does he think, you know what, no, Moreno should have enough of a gap, and we're going to fight this and battle this fine, but we'll see. Moreno now in the pit lane. Pfefferman takes the lead of the race, but of course he still has to pit. Debelet's now in second. Where is Moreno? There he comes.
There he is.
Oh, this is going to get really close there with Berezne. Who's got the upper hand? They're side by side, the two Dannys, and Moreno just stays ahead of Berezne, and it is still a net Spanish 1-2, and maybe this time Alvaro Carreton can hold on to the victory.
And that is fantastic stuff from Team Spain there. And that was all off the back of Alvaro Carreton. Danny Moreno drove a great couple of in-laps for sure. But if Alvaro hadn't managed to get past Danny Berezne in the previous lap, you can bet that Berezne was going to be able to undercut both of those drivers. You saw how close it was between the two Dannys, Berezne and Moreno, on the exit of the pit lane. Berezne definitely lost at least about half a second getting past there by Alvaro Carreton. So if that hadn't happened, Berezne is ahead of both of the Williams. As it is, he's behind both of them, and that is all down to the hard work of Alvaro Carreton. Further behind, Ruben Vallejo and Patrick Kruti are now battling, and that's Vallejo ahead once again of the Polish driver. Now Vallejo has Leveche next up on his hit list.
Yeah, Leveche trying to hold on to as many points as he can. Right now, a net P4 would be doing a decent job, but at the same time, we look down the rest of the grid and we see De Capua still in 20th, still in last. He's not making any inroads whatsoever on the cars in front, and that's just the quality of this field right here, as Pfefferman and Debelets now both into the pits, and Debelets might actually re-emerge behind De Capua. That might be the opportunity needed here for De Capua to at least get one position as of right now. We'll have to look, and there it is indeed. There is De Capua at least getting one place on Debelets, but he's still got at least 4 more to go, and he is right now over 8 seconds behind P15.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge margin, especially because he has a 3-second time penalty to contend with. Out at the front, meanwhile, Danny Moreno and Alvaro Carreton have switched places. Moreno retaking the lead of the race, as they are definitely working in tandem very, very well. And you can see that they are effectively trying to gap Danny Berezne and Domenico Leveche right now. For a second there, it was 9/10 between Berezne and Carreton. So they're getting perilously close to absolutely breaking the DRS and just running away with this. This is just a masterclass here from Team Spain.
Yeah, we've seen the advantage that they had time-wise in qualifying. Granted, it was only 1 lap. It was only basically a one-shot qualifying. But 4/10 quicker than Berezne was Moreno, and about 3/10 quicker was Carreton. So both of them having a massive advantage here. Right now, Berezny still has the DRS. We see the letterbox open, the rear wing open. But the question really remains, how long is he going to have the DRS available to him as they are working together as a tandem as you would want to see? I mean, this is truly, truly remarkable. Tactically wonderful to see from Team Spain here. Moreno and Caraton absolutely doing the work.
Bad news for Team Hungary in the fact that Norbert Jakab is currently bottled up behind his countryman Christoph Zeller. But of course, these are, while they are all Hungarians in this train here, Zeller, Jakab, and then Bial, they can't work together. These are two different teams here. The United Nations team in the orange McLarens, and then the red and white Alfa Romeos of Team Hungary. Now Jakab is pulling alongside and managing to get past Christoph Zeller, and that is a move that was very, very important for him, because he wants to try and close down the likes of Kruti and Vallejo, but it might just be too late now with 2.8 seconds between himself and the Polish Red Bull up ahead. Norbert Jakab might be looking at a 7th place finish at best, and that's enough maybe to keep Hungary alive if they can manage a great result at the Spanish Grand Prix in the next race. But it's going to be very, very tight for them to just be clinging on with a chance here. And as for Italy, this is looking very, very dire.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they have Lovece in P4 still, which is all right, but we've seen it so many times before in this event, in this Nations Cup. You have to score with both drivers consistently and get really good results with both drivers. And I think it's very clear that the one team that really does that right now is the Spanish team, as Pedreño has left the session for Team Europe. Now, that is bad news for Team Europe. Good news in the fact that it's only their lower driver as of right now. Pedreño was in 11th when that occurred. He's already dropped to 14th. Vallejo is still in P5, scoring solid points there. But it might have additional repercussions in that Pedreño might lose out so much that he's now in P16. He might have to start outside the top 15 for the reverse grid race around Spain, around their home race as well. And furthermore, it might be good news for Alessio Di Capua if Pedreño cannot rejoin quickly. Then Di Capua might have a shot to get at least one position here and move up to 18th. But still, it looks very, very dire indeed. The gap to P15 from Di Capua now almost 9 seconds. It has, in fact, increased.
Well, of course, all these drivers ahead of Di Capua, in and around him, they're all on soft tyres for the end of the race, and that's a 2-step difference to the hards of Alessio Di Capua. He will get Ruben Pedreño, who I seem to remember Pedreño had trouble before with internet connection as well, and it seems to have struck him again. He was actually mid-battle with Jolt Bial a couple laps ago, or about a lap ago, I should say, and then suddenly just disconnected immediately, losing out heavily with that car, going so much slower than the rest of the field under AI control. Pfefferman has inherited the position just behind Bial, and he's looking to try and harass the Hungarian for the United Nations team there. Meanwhile, Norbert Jakab has not managed to close down the front six whatsoever. He's falling away 3.7 seconds now, and he's still under a hefty amount of pressure from Christoph Zeller in 8th.
Yeah, and not just that, looking at Ruben Pedreño right now, I don't think at this point he will rejoin, because even if he does, it won't save anything really, because his AI just pitted again for soft tires. Don't know why, what's the point in that, but it just did, and he's definitely down in last now, 20 seconds behind Di Capua, and about 17 seconds behind Debelet, so very, very much of a struggle as Kalamin and Sukur battle over P16, which might turn into P15 based on Süleymanoglu's penalties. Currently, that's 6 seconds, so both of these are battling basically over what would be P15 as things stand right now, so that's an opportunity right there, and Kalamin currently has that ahead of the Frenchman in the Renault.
Yeah, and also it's not just Süleymanoglu, it's Balati as well. They're in 11th because Balati has 8 seconds worth of penalties, 6 seconds for Süleymanoglu, as you mentioned. So at the moment, both of these guys are in position to inherit, and it would be Sukur who would currently be on reverse grid pole. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Sukur wants to try and slow down Kalamin just a little bit here to try and help Balati to remain within that top 15 as well. It's going to be hard to orchestrate that while staying within range of Kagan Suleimanoglu. But it's definitely possible, and maybe that's they want to try and be able to do that. Christian Sendel, who's had a rather disappointing second part of this race, of course, pitted very early on for a set of medium tyres. Didn't really work out for him, unfortunately. Just picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's running around in 12th, a couple of positions behind his teammate Trefferman, but 3 seconds and a bit down the road from him.
Yeah, meanwhile, the gap between Karaton and Berezne is now over a second. Just over, and it's increasing a bit further. I think Karaton might be running lower downforce because generally on the straights, Karaton always seems to gain. He did that when he overtook Berezne after the pit stops, and he does it again and again. So maybe Karaton is running a lower downforce setup than Berezne, and that helps a little bit. However, Berezne should be able to get Karaton back here in this twistier final sector, but it's not to the tune of under a second, as Berezne will have no DRS available to him here on the main straight. The rear wing stays closed, and Loveche now has an opportunity to potentially get a third place on the final lap of this race.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility here. However, Domenico Loveche has 8% battery charge remaining. So I think he's actually going to be more worried about Ruben Vallejo behind him there in 5th. Loveche's had to use every last drop of that electrical charge just to stay within range of Danny Berezne. And Berezne himself has about 50%, same for Karaton. Danny Moreno is using a little bit more, but he has the buffer of his teammate behind, so he doesn't really have to worry about that. And I wonder if we're going to see more formation flying from the Spanish. And indeed, Danny Moreno blends out of the throttle. Flying on past goes Alvaro Karaton. They want a Karaton to finally get his first uncontested win of the season.
Yeah, cue the moment where we find out after the whole event that apparently Alvaro Karaton touched the pit entry white line again, or something similar. Let's hope that's not the case. I mean, he's had at least 3 victories taken away from him because of post-race penalties. Let's hope this one sticks, because it's just frustrating. I've been there before where you do everything you can, you do the best you can, you win the race on track, and then a post-race penalty takes it away from you. Here's Karaton, and Vallejo goes for the overtake on Loveche. Wow! But Karaton across the line to take the victory, and hopefully this one stands. Moreno 2nd, Berezne 3rd, Vallejo 4, Loveche 5, Jakob will be in P7, and De Capua, we're going to have to see where he ends up after penalties, because there's going to be quite a bit of movement there. Bayati falls down the order. Buchenkov in 13th as things stand. Bayati in 15th. De Capua 17th. So not enough. But only, look at that gap. Only by about a second and a half he misses out on P15.
And he had a 3-second time penalty. If he didn't pick up that penalty, he is on the reverse grid. As things stand, in fact, it won't be him. It'll be Dario Yamulo who has to start from 17th on the grid in Spain. And while it's easier to overtake at Spain than it is in real life, it's still not necessarily the easiest task in the world. But there is Michael Schumacher representing Alvaro Karaton at the top of the podium. A Williams 1-2. That's Team Spain, of course, with Danny Berezne pushing them all the way, but couldn't quite get on their level in the end. And they managed to break that DRS train and come home for a comfortable victory and 2nd position. Fantastic once again from Team Spain.
Yeah, really remarkable, as we always see from them. Really fantastic drive, and a 1-2 Karaton. Again, if this victory doesn't stand, if I was Alvaro Karaton, I'd just flip the table, honestly. I mean, this must have been so frustrating for him. Finally, in the final event, he gets the win, and hopefully this one will not be taken away. Fastest lap doesn't even matter. I was gonna look. Fastest lap inside the top 10 went to Karaton, and Moreno was the 2nd fastest, so they really showed just how quick they were. But ultimately, the fastest lap went to Pedreño earlier on in the race, or maybe he did rejoin. But yeah, we're waiting for the live standings, and in fact, we have them at the ready. So let's quickly check what this race did to the standings right now, and we see Spain with a comfortable lead of 304 points, 32 ahead of Hungary, and another 14 ahead of Italy, so 46 points the gap there, which means for the next race for Spain, that Spain can actually close out the Nations Cup one race early before the final at the US Grand Prix. If they outscore Italy by a single point, and if they outscore Hungary by 15, that's all they have to do, and they win the Nations Cup at the home race at Spain.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's definitely doable then for Team Spain, and we're gonna have to watch out for whether they're gonna be able to do that or not.
Yeah, and with that, we are going to be right back. Make sure if you've enjoyed this first race, we're gonna have 2 more coming. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the Team ORL channel, and we'll be right back after a couple of words from our sponsors.
It's time now. Your blood is burning. Your stamina is rising. Greet all the challenges in your way.
And welcome back, everybody, after a fantastic race in France where Team Spain managed to take the victory. We'll be getting ready now for the Spanish Grand Prix, where they unfortunately will have to start from the back of the reverse grid. You are watching, of course, the ORL, FuturEsports and Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming, and this is round 6. My name is Aldar, and joining me in the commentary box, as has been the case for the whole Nations Cup, is, of course, Badgerman.
Yes, indeed. And I see a couple of you trying to type !monitor in the chat, so I think we'll just incorporate that very quickly and talk about the giveaways once more. So we have the MOBIUZ BenQ EX3415R giveaway. If you want the best chance to win, complete all of those entries that you can see on your screen right now. Follow at MOBIUZ Gaming EU on Twitter. Follow at team_ORL on Twitter. Tag 2 friends in the replies to the tweet that you find there. Retweet that tweet. Like the Nations Cup stream, this stream right here. And comment in the channel, in the chat right there where you're at right now. Hashtag MOBIUZ and hashtag EX3415R. And of course, we have another giveaway as well from our partners at FreeM Sim Racing for a pair of their FreeM gloves. And I'll say this once again, I have a pair of those and they are fantastic. So if you want to protect your wheel, if you want to make sure you have the right grip on it at all times, make sure you enter this one by following at FreeM Sim Racing and at team_ORL on Twitter. Once again, tag 2 friends and retweet the giveaway tweet. Like this stream once more, that will enter you into both of those giveaways. And comment in the chat with hashtag FreeM Sim Racing.
Absolutely, and you definitely want to get yourself involved in those because there's some great products that there are available for you to win. So make sure you get everything, get all those bits checked off the list, get yourself in the running for those particular rewards. And now, speaking of in the running, why don't we maybe take a look now at who the drivers who are going to be in the running here for the Spanish Grand Prix are going to be.
Yeah, let's start off with the home drivers with Team Spain, the championship leaders. They can close out the Nations Cup here with Alvaro Caraton and Danny Moreno.
For the Hungarians, we have one substitution. Still there is Danny Berezne, but alongside him for Spain will be Benz Zabo Konyi.
For Team Italy, they're going to have to fight hard to get this one back. It will be Domenico Lavecce and Dario Iamulo.
No change for Team Poland. Patrick Krutzi and Matthias Vepech will be lining up in the Red Bulls.
For Team Europe, we once again have no changes there. Team Ruben once again lining up with Pedreño and Vallejo.
For the French, again, as you were, with Johan Sukur and Gregory Balati in the Renaults.
Team Turkey has one change alongside Kagan Süleymanoglu. It will be Ümit Yigit, who we saw participating for the first time last week. He is returning.
And then for the United Nations team, we have a new driver in the form of Maya alongside Christoph Zeller, who performed pretty well in that last race.
Similarly, can be said for Team Russia, as they will be pretty close to reverse grid pole. But they also have a complete change of drivers here as Andrei Tarabukin and Vadim Tsvetkov take the wheels.
And finally, for Team Germany, we're going to have the return of Miguel Pfefferman, and replacing Christian Sendel, we have Neb.
And with that, let's quickly look at the track that is awaiting us for this race. On the top right of your screen, it will be the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, 4.655 kilometers long, and certainly a track that is not very liked by a lot of viewers in real life. But we've mentioned it earlier in the stream, on the game. It's actually a decent track. It actually works quite well. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities for the drivers, and you have to get a bit creative, but it's certainly not impossible, and it always makes for some great racing around here.
Yeah, and of course, it's still going to be a bit of an uphill struggle for those who have to start back towards the bottom end of the grid. That includes the Spaniards, who'll be starting 14th and 15th. Berezne will be ahead of them in 13th. Then you got Leveche down there in about 11th, I believe. And of course, we're going to have Dario Yamulo starting down in 17th. That's his present upon arrival. He takes the reins from Alessio Di Capua, and Alessio says, well, I got you 17th on the grid. Go have at it. And we'll see whether Dario can make that work for him as well. And so out of the big teams, it's going to be Bensabo Konyi who's going to have the best starting position.
Yeah, and that is going to be interesting. He will, I think, start P8 or P9, if I'm not mistaken, as the drivers are getting ready. And I think, yeah, we can hear the countdown. I decided to turn it off now, but we can hear the countdown. Our sound issues from the first race are completely resolved, so at least we got that going now. Everything is working properly, and we are about to enter the lobby, as you heard from that sound. Just a quick note on the tires for this race. We have the C3, C2, C1, so the hardest three compounds of the selection. And 0.6 of a second between the softs and the mediums. I don't think we will see the hards, but the soft tires, well, they don't last very long. 8 laps, and the whole race is going to be 17 laps long, so that's going to be a bit tricky for the drivers. The soft tire wears out very quickly. Expect some early pit stops in the race from some of the drivers. If they do start on softs, I think we will see most drivers starting on medium tires instead. The alternate strategy will become the normal strategy here around Spain.
Indeed, and we'll see how many are going to take that risk then in qualifying, or maybe it's the risk to try and go on the softs in qualifying.
Well, we have no qualifying. It's reverse grid.
Oh, of course we have no qualifying. Goodness gracious me. That's a fantastic point. We have no qualifying. The drivers can pick whatever they want.
Exactly.
Oh, happy days for them.
Yes. So no tire wear either. So they really get the full 8 laps out of these soft tires if they so choose, which they probably won't, because only 0.6 of a second difference, but the tire lasts basically double. The medium tire lasts 15 laps. It can almost go the whole race, whereas the soft tire can't even go half. And with that change, I think we will see the soft tire for about 2 or 3 laps maximum, and then it will be mediums for the most part in this race. So expect a lot of maybe 4 laps on the softs, but there's not going to be all too much going on as is the lobby glitched.
It does seem to be, from my perspective. I'm seeing session starts in 29 seconds, and that's not counting down. So.
It is not for me either. We might have some technical difficulties. A good thing we haven't changed into the lobby yet. We have some technical difficulties, so let's just quickly go to this screen right there. Oh, never mind. Actually, it was glitched, but not fully glitched. So I think we're fine as the drivers make their way out onto the formation lap.
No, I think we're going to have a remake here because Caraton has somehow been put to the back of the grid, and that is not where he belongs. He should be starting 15th on the grid, so I think we're going to have to remake this one. Issue with the game. Somehow the grid has got a little bit shuffled out here, and Caraton has been put down to the very bottom. That's not where he is supposed to be, so we'll get that sorted, and we'll be back into the lobby again.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate there, so we can actually leave the lobby right now. We'll be... you know what? Actually, what we're gonna do first off, once more, because a lot of people are still posting ! monitor in the chat and it's not working. Let's talk about the giveaway once more. If you want to win a monitor, you have to do what is shown here on the screen on your stream right there. ! monitor will not do anything but all of these entries will. So hashtag Mobius and hashtag EX3415R here in the chat, and like the stream. Make sure you retweet the giveaway tweet, tag 2 friends below it in the replies, and of course follow at Mobius Gaming EU and at team_ORL on Twitter. And we give away a pair of gloves as well, FreeM Sim Racing gloves. Follow them on Twitter as well, at FreeM Sim Racing. Once again, tag 2 friends and retweet, like the stream, and comment hashtag FreeM Sim Racing in the chat as well to enter that giveaway. And I think with that, as the lobby is getting set up, I think one thing we can do for sure is have the sponsors basically speak to you directly all by themselves. So we'll be right back. As soon as we are back, we will have the reverse grid race around Spain, 25%, no qualifying needed.
It's time now. Your blood is burning. Your stamina is rising. Greet all the challenges in your way.
And then welcome back once again, everybody. We're still getting the lobby reset up. A couple of drivers having some issues with desynchronization from the lobby and that sort of thing. So we want to make sure that everything's all okay. We're all good before we get into the race itself in Spain.
Yeah, and before we do that, let's have another look at the standings as of this moment, the provisional live standings. No post-race penalties applied, other than, of course, the ones that the game applies for corner cutting, for speeding in the pit lane, and all of those things, but, you know, none of those potentially removed, none of those added up, other than the ones that were already given. And with that, Spain, 32 points ahead of Hungary and 46 ahead of Italy. That means for the next race at Spain, the Spanish team, the home team, can close out the championship as long as they outscore Italy by a single point and outscore Hungary by 15. Then Spain will crown themselves the champions of the ORL FuturEsports Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming. As we see in the lobby, apparently drivers and teams are readying up. It seems like we are not waiting for the second European driver. We are not waiting for Ruben Vallejo.
Hold on, we'll see what the situation is going to be here. As we might find that this
we've
gets
lost two drivers. We've lost two drivers. Oh, there you go. It was reset. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it seems like potentially there are some issues with Ruben Vallejo. He seems to have desync, and so we're trying to get that sorted. But another driver just left as well, and I think that may have been the other European driver. Indeed, almost in protest. The other European driver, Ruben Pedreño, also left. So just to make sure that everyone is aware, there's only 19 drivers now, 18 drivers in the lobby. But yeah, let's hope we get this all sorted. We get this all done. The Netherlands, someone's asking in the chat, the Netherlands have pulled out of the event, unfortunately, after round number 3. So they are no longer in competition here. And yeah, very unfortunate to see that. And they were replaced by a Team UK that only participated in one event in round 4. And since round 4 was not counted because of other incidents occurring then, that Team UK was then replaced by Team Germany that now has 22 points as of this moment right now. How many points did Team Netherlands have? That would be, let me just quickly look that up because I don't have that in my head right now, but that should be around...
I would say around like 170 or...
Sounds about right, yeah. Something in that realm. Let me just quickly look it up. There we go, there we have it. It was 152. There we go.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, they had 152. They would have been in P5 right now as things stand ahead of Team Europe, but they pulled out. In fact, they had exactly half the points that Spain has right now. So they could have been in the title fight right there. Decided not to. Very unfortunate. But, well, we can't make the decisions for them. Meanwhile, we are still waiting for Ruben Pedreño to rejoin. Vallejo is back in. Pedreño is not. So this time it's the... Oh, there you go. Pedreño is in. And he has the car. So we are good to go now, finally. And we will be entering the lobby rather shortly. Once again, let's look at the track that we will be visiting. It is the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya, 4.655 kilometers long. And it will be a reverse grid race. The top 15 from the previous race at France will be turned around. P15 from that race will start in pole position. P1, the winner of our Caraton, will start in P15. P16 to P20 will start in the positions they finished in. And we will have, I think, 17 laps, 16 or 17 laps. It should be 17 around this circuit. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. Again, I said it before, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, not the best for real life racing, but on F1 2020, certainly does for some great racing.
Indeed it does, and now we are here then into the lobby itself. And we just have the drivers now getting their setups ready and deciding their strategies before we get onto the grid.
Yeah, that is going to be crucial. I've mentioned it before, 8 laps on the softs, 15 on the mediums. That's how long the drivers can take the tires. They will not take them as long, but we will see significant wear on these tires, much more than we usually would in a 25% race. These tires will usually go to about the 40 to 50% mark on both the softs and the mediums. So it's going to be very, very tricky for the drivers to navigate their cars around the circuit towards the end of each stint. So expect a lot of busy goings on in the pit lane as we are now heading into the session.
And there we go, and we have everyone
Yep, there we go. Now we are in with Bayati on pole position, and then the Russians in P2 and P3 right there behind, then the Germans in P4 and P5. So very, very cozy there, I would say, for 2 of those teams. France, well, very unlucky. I mean, they finished P15 and P16 in the last race, but that means one of them gets the reverse grid pole. The other starts in P16. That would be Sukur. So, yeah, a bit unlucky for them there as Bayati takes them around this circuit.
Yeah, and it's a good looking grid if you're Russian right now, with Svetkov there in second and Tarabukin in third, and then the Germans Nib and Pfefferman, they're in 4th and 5th as well, so they can look forward to a decent race ahead of us. And there you can see Zabukonyi down in 9th. That is the highest starting driver who is in the championship battle in some way or another. And Team Hungary need to make sure that he does well. He needs to get on the podium at the very least here for Hungary, because they are at a significant points deficit to Spain right now.
Yeah, both teams are. Italy even more so. Italy need a significant amount of points here. If they lose out to Spain by 1 point, then Spain already eliminate Italy based on that, and it would all come down to Spain versus Hungary. So Italy really needs a good result here with both drivers, Lovece and Yamulo. And especially for Yamulo, that's going to be a bit trickier as he is in P17 right now.
Indeed, he's going to be just getting onto the grid now, and the front runners are already there and waiting at the front of this grid. There is Yamulo getting into his slot in P17 with Surmanolu just alongside him. Yigit and Pedreño at the back of the grid behind him. Right out at the front, it's Balati and Svetkov in the Renault and the AlphaTauri respectively. The lights are on in Spain. And we are underway once again here in the Nations Cup. And it looks like a good start there for Tarabukin. Balati cleanly off the line as well. Svetkov might be in a little bit of trouble, but it's his teammate behind so they can get some formation flying going in towards turn 1. Around the outside of Tarabukin goes Pfefferman there. Nice move from Igor Pfefferman in the bright pink helmet, who moves himself up there into third. Maya making up positions as well for the United Nations team. And Yamulo is already losing out. Caraton to the back. Yamulo's off the road. What's happening with some of these front runners here? As Caraton is down into 19th, and it's been a fantastic start for Yamulo, though. He's up into 13th. Lovece's there in 10th. Zabukonyi up to 7th. And it's all kicking off at the beginning here, and it's not looking that good for Spain.
Yeah, Caraton now with damage already. You can see the left side end plate missing for the Spanish driver, for the race winner of France earlier. Just about 10-15 minutes ago, as Dani Berezle has left the session. Oh, and that could really hurt the Hungarians.
He's got wing damage as well. I assume he's lagged out of the session, but he has got front wing damage here.
Oh, there's a
car round. That's Ruben Vallejo who's gone round. I don't know. There was another car who was involved with there. I'm not exactly sure who that was. It might have been Sukur. I'm not entirely sure about that one. Out at the front, Balati still leads from Svetkov, and Caraton just diving into the pits now.
Yeah, early pit stop. I think he will have to go for the hards here, not the mediums. Again, the mediums last around 15 laps. He will have to do 16 on them if he goes for them. The hard tires might give him a little bit better consistency and allow him to be a little bit more feisty later on in the race. He does go for the mediums, however, so he plays the riskier strategy, knowing that he needs a good result here to keep Spain in the running, as we are waiting for the standings to sort themselves out a little bit here. There is Berezne, Pedreño, and Caraton all coming out of the pit lane. Should sort itself out rather shortly. Bayati still leading the way here at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, we're just going to wait for Pedreño and Caraton to come through, but Balati leading the way. Tsvetkov second, Pfefferman third, but already with a penalty to his name in that Mercedes. Tarabukin fourth, Maya with a good start. He's up into fifth, Neeb in sixth, and Zabukonyi in seventh. By the way, Dario Yamulo started 17th. He's now ninth. He's been allowed through by his teammate Domenico Levecce, and he's right up there with the likes of Patrick Cruti. So all of a sudden, with the demise of Berezne and Caraton, and with Danny Moreno not making a whole lot of progress, this is suddenly looking a lot more doable for the Italians.
It certainly looks like it. The question is, how much more can they get out of this race? It's still very early. I mean, we just started lap 3. We're still in the first sector of that lap 3. So there's still about 15 laps left to go, and that's a whole lot of time. That's a whole lot of real estate for the Italians to work with. Could you imagine that they not only would take a did take a 1-3 at their own home race? Now imagine if they get a fantastic result at their rival's home race in Spain as well.
Yeah, that would be a really nice little morale booster for them going into the final race of the Cup. Let's not count out Danny Moreno, though. He is a special talent, as he has shown time and time again here in the Nations Cup. Multiple-time race winner and many, many podiums as well. He's currently down in 13th, having not made much progress off the start line. But he's got Christoph Zeller up ahead, Matthias Wittich, and then it's right up with those two Italians. So if he just makes a little bit more progress in the coming laps, and maybe once the pit stop phase comes around, he can be right there with Team Italy, ready to throw a spanner right back in those works.
I mean, but Tsvetkov in the final sector was incredibly close to the back of Bayati, and I think he's going for the move here. Tsvetkov going for the lead, and he's got it, I think, yep, before the braking zone even starts. He slots into the lead of the race.
Tarabukin behind as well, putting the move on Pfefferman. Pfefferman had to go wide and go running over those sleeping policemen on the outside of turn 1. And as a result, he picked up another time penalty and lost position. So that's not a good opening to this lap for the German. Meyer is there in 5th, looking to try and take advantage as well. Meyer being the furthest up driver on the soft tyres. Cruti and Yamulo were both on softs. They both come into the pits, and they've strapped on medium tyres. So Dario Yamulo pulling the trigger early with his pit stop strategy.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ruben Pedreño out of the race. Down to 19 runners now. That should make things a bit easier for the likes of Alvaro Caraton and Danny Berezne. If he can rejoin, that is. I don't know if he's back in his car. I don't think so, because we would have seen the times cut out. And so Danny Berezne, I think, not back in the session. And yeah, he's losing significant amounts of time to Caraton. That usually would not be the case. So we hope that Berezne can rejoin. But if not, that's a very, very significant blow to the Hungarian squad here. And Zabukonyi now has all of this weight on his shoulders to make sure that the Hungarians get a good result here. But I mean, all three teams are struggling, so P7 already is pretty good. He's being hassled a little bit by Levecce here, but he's still on the soft tire, Zabukonyi that is, and so he's still got a good opportunity here to get some points and get a good result to make sure that Hungary stays in this fight.
Absolutely, and I just wonder, because Danny Berezne is still not in the session. I'll assume he lagged out rather than leaving intentionally. But either way, even if he's offline at the moment, he can just start practicing at the USA, getting a little bit more practice in, perhaps. With this race going down the drain, that's not the worst way to spend his time right now. And maybe, as long as Zabukonyi can hold down the ship for the remainder of the race here in Spain, if he finishes where he is, and the rest of the field finish where they are, Hungary are actually going to gain points on Team Spain, and they're going to get closer to being in that fight with them over the overall championship. Of course, Zabukonyi would love to claim a couple more positions before the end of this race to try and maximize the damage, while Danny Moreno struggles down there in 11th. But that's not necessarily going to be so easy to do. Definitely easier said than done. Right now, though, he's pulling into the pits. He's getting rid of those soft tires. Mediums will go on that car. He's going to come out around about Kruti and Yemulo.
Yeah, the hope is going to be for him that he comes out ahead of those two and then has a lot of free air in front of him. Otherwise, this is going to be a bit of an issue, and he's going to be stuck behind Kruti and Yemulo. We'll see. There goes Kruti, there goes Yemulo, so he's way behind them. That's over a second easily. 1.6, 1.7, climbs up to 2 seconds, slightly over 2 seconds, but he's got slightly fresher tires as well. And we see a lot of people in the chat hoping for a restart, because apparently Danny Berezne ran into the back of an AI that sort of brake checked him, which is incredibly unfortunate. I'll give you that, but it will not be restarted. Yeah, I don't think that is going to happen. These things can happen, unfortunately. It is very unlucky for Danny Berezne, but I think unluckier things have happened over the course of this season. I'm thinking to all the disconnects that have happened to other drivers over the course of the season. So no restart going to happen here. Apologies to all of the Hungarian fans, all of the Danny Berezne fans, but not possible to restart. However, we heard in the chat as well that apparently Danny Berezne is exactly doing what you suggested, Aladar, which is to practice for USA. And that is a very smart choice there, indeed, because now he will have some extra pace there, most likely, and that will potentially allow him to claw back the championship.
Meanwhile, out on track here in Spain, Domenico Lovecce has just been able to get past the second German driver of Neb there, and now he's up behind Miguel Pfefferman, and the race leaders are not too far ahead from Pfefferman right now, so Lovecce is playing himself in to a podium-getting position, slowly but surely, in this race. Dario Yemulo is still bottled up behind Patrick Kruti. He's been stuck behind him for about 3 laps now after they both pitted. And that's annoying for Yemulo, because he'll feel like he has more pace than Kruti. We saw what an electric start to the race Yemulo had. But now he's kind of hit the buffers a little bit in the form of that Red Bull.
Yeah, and we said before, it is difficult to overtake around this track. You have to get really creative. And yeah, I just don't see it happening. You lose so much time here in the final sector from the dirty air that it's going to be difficult to be close enough.
Here comes Moreno.
There is Moreno indeed on Vepech over P8. And he gets the position nice and easy into turn 1 and slots in right in front of the Red Bull.
And I think that's the first overtake Danny Moreno's made in this race, with the exception of the opening lap here. So he's starting to make progress right now at the expense of Vepech. But the trouble is, everyone has been pretty much in a DRS train. Meanwhile, further back, Yemulo critically has now been able to dispatch Patrick Kruti. Kruti down at 8% ERS. You can see Yemulo down at 1% right now. But both drivers will be able to farm that back up a little bit now that the battle between them has been called off to an extent. Vepech picking up a 3-second time penalty there in 9th, just after getting passed by Danny Moreno. But yeah, Moreno making progress. He's seen Lovecce passing Neb further up the order, and he'll know that he needs to be trying to keep step with the Italian.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have a lot of battling going on over the top 8 here. Moreno now on the back of Zeller, trying to get that move done. Not into the chicane just yet, but I think on the main straight, with everyone having DRS from Bayetti down to Moreno, I think Moreno might like his chances here to get Zeller maybe into turn 1 as Lovecce goes for the move on Pfefferman, and Tarabukin makes it a Russian 1-2 on Bayetti. So the Russians leading the way now, and Lovecce up to 4th. The Italians really fighting back in this one.
Yeah, meanwhile, Vepech has been the first of the guys who started on the medium tyres to pit. He's onto a set of softs, and he reckons he can get those to the end of this race in good shape. No one else pitted on that same lap as him, though, so it's an aggressive strategy call from the Polish driver. Puts him down in 17th for the time being, but only 4 seconds adrift of the Hungarian pairing of Zabekonyi and Meyer. Of course, Meyer driving for the United Nations team, Zabekonyi for the Hungarian team itself. But Vepech will be closing those guys down in the coming laps.
I mean, I saw a comment, I have to address this one very quickly. Someone's asking, why not restart, stupid commentators? We're not in charge, we're just commentating. We cannot decide if this race is restarted or not. We are not in charge. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is not our decision here. As we see the leader, Tsvetkov, now coming into the pit lane, and Bayati as well. So 2 drivers into the pit lane, and not just them, Suleimanoglu and Sukur as well. This is a double stack for the French team. That is incredibly surprising. That will hurt Sukur significantly.
Yeah, I wonder why Sukur's felt the need to pull the trigger right here and now into the pits, and you can see a bit of a delay. It's not that bad, actually. The delay could have been a lot worse. He was far enough behind his teammate that Johan Sukur hasn't lost out as much as you would usually expect from a double stack. Meanwhile, coming out of the pits, we're going to see these guys coming out very near to Ben Sabo-Konyi critically. There's Meyer and Tsvetkov keeping his nose in there, continuing the battle with that bright orange car there of Meyer. Milan Meyer might have to cede this position. He tries to stick it around the outside of 4, but Tsvetkov will close that particular avenue of attack, and he maintains his grip on at least 12th position. Meyer now down in 13th. Sabo-Konyi is the next up for Tsvetkov. Let's not forget that has meant that the undercut from Sabo-Konyi and Meyer has been significant here. However, they will now be on mediums to the end of the race, while the likes of Tsvetkov and Balati, they're going to be on the much faster soft tires.
Yeah, and right now with the difference between Tsvetkov and Sabo-Konyi in terms of tires, the fresh softs and the 3-lap old mediums, I think the gap is about a second between those tires, but it gets reduced very quickly and very easily over the next couple of laps. Remember, these soft tires do not last long whatsoever, as a lot of drivers now pit onto the softs. And I gotta say, looking at who was the first of the soft runners to pit, I think that was Vepic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was very early, I have to say. He might struggle at the end of the race. Everyone else should be fine, but Vepic might have a bit of an issue coming towards him on the final lap of the race.
Ooh, things are about to get spicy here. There's a few medium tire runners and a few soft tire runners in and about them. Sabo-Konyi goes wide there through 4. I don't know what's happened to him. I think he's disconnected here.
Yeah.
I'm seeing migrating host. Sabo-Konyi is the host of the session.
Oh, no.
And this is not good news at all, let alone for Team Hungary, but maybe for the whole session itself. Sabo-Konyi's disconnection here is going to be wreaking havoc.
Yeah, this is really, really bad for Team Hungary overall. They might actually end up losing the whole event on this. Look at where Danny Moreno is. He still has to pit. Hasn't done so yet. He's still staying out, and he will lose a significant amount of positions from this. But at the same time, he will certainly be within the top, I would say the top 11, top 12 maybe, and be able to work his way up on the fresher tires. And that is definitely an opportunity for the Spaniards to get some points. Caraton in 13th right now as well. An opportunity for the Spaniards to get some points here. Yeah, this is not good for the Hungarians. Really, really unfortunate. And the Italians might be the one to keep this championship open and keep the Nations Cup alive.
Well, Team Spain need 15 points above Hungary to knock Hungary out of contention. And I'm not sure Spain are going to be on track to score 15 points in this race, so they might still technically be in it, Team Hungary, when we go to the final race. Domenico Lavecchia has been able to pass Balati on that last lap. He's now got Meyer up ahead, Milan Meyer, 1 position ahead of Domenico Lavecchia right now. But with 4-lap old mediums up against fresh softs on Lavecchia's car, you've got to imagine it's going to be light work down into turn 1 for the Italian to try and get past Meyer. Yemullo, by the way, he's in a fantastic position along with Patrick Kruti right now. Both of them have pitted, and their tyres are going to get very, very old towards the end of this race. But they do have a 2.5-second buffer to the Russian pairing of Tarabukin and Tsvetkov, who are the next down the road. Danny Moreno pits from the race lead. He is the last driver to pit in this race, going bold on strategy by staying out for as long as he did. It's going to be soft tyres to the end for him, and it's only about 4-5 laps remaining for him to try and make those work.
Yeah, he's back out on track. P9 will lose the position to Zeller here as well. That would be P10 now for Moreno. He is ahead of Vepic, so that certainly helps. But the question now becomes, how many more positions can he gain with everyone in front of him being on the softs? Kruti, meanwhile, P1, Yamulo in second, and they're battling over the win right now. Kruti has no DRS off of anyone because he's obviously the leader. So those two might fight it out, and Italy might actually score a win here on foreign soil on the Spanish grounds. That would be a remarkable comeback, and especially from Yamulo. He started 17th.
Yeah, what a fantastic race it has been so far from Dario Yamulo. And I tell you what, the gap between Yamulo and Tarabukin behind has remained constant, despite the gulf between the conditions of their tires, the compounds of their tires. Tarabukin cannot find enough to bring the pace up to the level or beyond the level of Kruti and Yamulo. And of course, Yamulo himself, he's going to be disappointed because he's behind Patrick Kruti. He was ahead of him earlier in the race. I'm not sure what exactly happened that saw Patrick Kruti getting back past him. But still, he is doing a fantastic job. Both of these drivers out of the front are doing fantastic jobs in this race. Because Balati is losing a couple of positions. That's Danny Moreno almost getting 2 cars down the main straight there. He's still battling with Christoph Zeller. And Zeller is going to have to let Moreno past there. So Moreno now up into 8th, but he does have a time penalty to contend with. And Zeller is still coming back at him. He'll look for the switchback through 4, but he can't find that either. So Moreno is now up into 8th position, ready to chase down the German car up ahead. But that penalty is not going to be helpful.
Bayati into the wall. The Renault.
Okay.
Yeah, the Renault off into the wall, and he's really slow on the grass there. He's rejoining now. What is going on there? Does he have a puncture? No, it doesn't look like. I don't know what is going on here with Bayati. Now he's picking up pace again. Just letting other cars by, making sure he rejoins the track safely, I think, is what was going on there. And yeah, we just got a notification from the organizers that this race will in fact be restarted due to multiple desync issues. So to all of you in chat who have been yelling for minutes now, you can calm down. You can relax. This race will be restarted after the issues that we saw earlier. It took a while to get that decision, but that decision was now made. There will be a restart, and yeah, we will start this from the very beginning. My goodness, what a race. I mean, I've never seen these kinds of issues on this game. I'm very surprised by them, but yeah, we're gonna have to work with it, and we're gonna have to do the Spanish Grand Prix all over again. Let's hope the drivers know, and let's hope the drivers realize that the restart will happen. Yeah, there is still racing out there, but it's all for nothing, unfortunately. Yeah.
And I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be the one to tell Dario Yamulo after this race that this race has been nullified, because he has driven...
And Leveche as well.
Leveche as well. But in particular, Dario Yamulo has driven absolutely fantastically in this race. And I got to say, it is gutting for the Italian team, because this was the way for them to get back in this championship fight with one race to go. They were going to score a fantastic haul of points. The Spanish weren't going to score a huge amount of points here. The Hungarians weren't going to score at all. And yeah, it would have been fantastic for Team Italy. And it's really going to be gutting. A huge punch to the gut for them. The fact that this is going away from them.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate. We're going to stay on it, but we are going to have a restart of the race as soon as everyone is notified of it. Obviously, some of the drivers are focusing so much on the racing right now that they're not looking. And yeah, so they're still battling out here, but it will all be for nothing, it seems, because of the amount of issues and the amount of desync. And apparently, yeah, it was AI that caused a crash on the first lap, and it wasn't a driver, and a bunch of desync happening. And yeah, you everyone in the chat, y'all can calm down, y'all can chill again. We are seeing you, don't worry about that. But the one thing I'm going to say is you don't have to attack us commentators for it, okay? Just chill with that. Thank you. We're not in charge of anything. We're just commentating here. So Yeah, Yamulo now with the overtake, but that is just even more, yeah, even more heartbreaking, really, for Yamulo, knowing now what he doesn't know, that this race will not count, unfortunately, because of all the issues on lap 1. And yeah, Karaton apparently hit the back of Danny Berezne as well because of that issue. So it didn't just affect the Hungarians, it affected the Spaniards as well. Karaton at least was able to recover to P10, but yeah. Ultimately, if you have any issues with that ruling by the administrators, you will have to pick that up with the administrators and not with us, please. Once again, not our decision here. But yeah, Dario Yamulo comes across the line and takes a win that will be for nothing. Very, very unfortunate there.
Yeah. I tell you what, his overtake on the final lap on Kruti was stellar as well. It was a fantastic overtake he made on Patrick Kruti. And that's, if anything, just making it that tiny bit worse for him.
Yeah, certainly. Very, very unfortunate there. It would have been a fantastic point haul. I mean, 25 points for Yamulo, and then we add another 14 for Leveche. That's 39 points. They would have been right there with the Spaniards. They would have been pretty close at around, I would say, probably a gap of around 20 points between Italy and Spain. But after all this, we will have to do the Spanish Grand Prix again. Yamulo, I think, honestly, I want to give that to him even before before the actual Spanish race. I want to give Dario Yamulo a drive of the day already, because he gained 16 places there, and honestly, that was just a remarkable drive. But yeah, very, very unlucky indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose we'll be going to another break then while we work out what the situation is going to be and get into the next lobby for the next race, or the same race again, I suppose.
Yeah, and that would have been the result right here. Yamulo Kruti in second. The Russians would have kept a fantastic P3 and P4 with Tarabukin and Svetkov. That would have been a remarkable result. But we will be right back after a little bit of a break, trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
subs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
Alright, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this.
HyperX Alloy. Built strong because it has to be. It's time now. Your blood is burning. Your stamina is rising. Greet all the challenges in your way.
What will you like today? Another Cloud 2 Classic?
I'll stick with the usual. Maybe take a little bit off the sides.
Oh, that's fresh.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
Hey, watch it!
Alright, welcome back everybody to the ORL FuturEsports and Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming, and there's been some frantic discussions going on between the moderators behind the scenes. Nothing that myself, Aladar and Badgerman have been discussing. We are not making any of these decisions. I'd like to make that clear from the outset here. But the decision has now been made to proceed with the race in USA. The race in Spain will not be remade. There will not be a restart of that race. However, the results of that race are under investigation, and it will be decided later by the moderators what will be done with the results of that race. I want to say again, this is not my decision. This is not Badgerman's decision. We are just the messengers here, so please don't direct any... If you don't like the decision, don't direct that on us. But right now, we are getting into the third and final race of the day in the USA, and it is a circuit I love, and I just want to get on with the racing.
Yeah, same. I honestly just want to see some more driving, some more racing, and the Circuit of the Americas is certainly a great track for that. 5.5 kilometers long, one of the longer ones, and I would say one of Mantilka's better creations overall. One thing that we always see, of course, is the triple/quadruple/ however many right-hander in the final sector here. We, of course, have the S's in the first sector that are very, very difficult to navigate, especially on lap 1. And so a lot can happen here. And this track, it's fun to drive, but we've mentioned it at the start of the stream. One thing that really makes the drivers dislike this track is the fact that the soft tires, well, they're not easy to keep in check. They can overheat very, very easily, and that certainly puts them under a bit of pressure. However, you have to use them, really, because they are almost 1.4 seconds a lap quicker than fresh mediums, and they're very durable as well, lasting 12 laps, whereas the mediums last 16 and the hards last 21, as we will have 14 laps on this track. So even the soft tires last almost the whole race, if you can keep them in check, that is. But let's jump onto the track, and we'll be right back with you in just about 10 seconds with the first running on the US Grand Prix. And here we are, and we see Danny Berezny, who has done a little bit of practice after the early exit from the Spanish Grand Prix. So he should know this track fairly well by now. And we'll see how this goes for him. A lot of drivers on the outlaps right now. Who's going to be the first one to start a lap? Is it going to be Berezny or who else? That's Danny Berezny.
Out there first.
There we go.
Behind him is one of the Williams. That's going to be one of the Spanish cars, and it's Danny Moreno who's just behind him. But Danny Berezny leads the way around then. In fact, the first 3 cars out there, it's a Hungarian Alfa Romeo, you've got the Spanish Williams, and you've got the Italian Racing Point. And that is going to be Haddad, Daniele Haddad, who's driving in his first race of the day here. He's going to be the 3rd car out there for the flying lap. But Danny Berezny, we may as well put our focus back on him.
Yeah, indeed. And we'll see how this goes. We're actually going to go on board with him for a lap through the final corner. Let me quickly turn down the audio settings a little bit just to make sure that you don't get your ears blown out. Here we go. Danny Berezny up towards turn 1. And that is quite literal because it's major uphill here. Very difficult to see the inside, the apex of turn 1. Turn 2 will be flat out. You want to, cut that corner quite significantly. Now 3, 4, 5, 6, all in quick succession. 6 getting very long there. Now 7 and 8. Still, this is where the tires will reach their highest temperature. Turn 9. Now they start to cool down a bit. Turn 10, the kink. That is flat out. Turn 11, heavy braking zone here. And you gotta get the exit right more than the entry, because now you have the massive back straight here and towards the final sector of the race. We have a yellow final sector of the lap. We have a yellow flag in sector 3. That's drivers just waiting to start their lap, not being too close. Heavy braking zone, best overtaking opportunity here into this left-hander. You can cut that quite a bit. Now through the right hand, a long corner here, 14, now 15. Great sneaky overtaking spot right here. You can send it up the inside, and that sometimes allows you to get that position. Now 16, 17, 18, triple right-hander. 2 more corners left to go. 19, prime invalidation spot, and Berezne almost got a load of understeer there. Through 20, just get it across the line as quickly as possible, and it is a 128.9.
He was about a 10th up on Moreno after the first 2 laps, and Danny Moreno actually backs out of his lap. He didn't invalidate. He just wasn't happy with it. He's back into the pit lane then. Alvaro Carreton is going to be coming around because Daniela Haddad has also headed back into the pit lane, unhappy with what he could dredge up there. Ruben Pedreño goes into 3rd as Carreton goes into 2nd, just a 10th shy, or more like a 10th and a half compared to Danny Berezne. Whereas Alessio Di Capua, he's out there on a flying lap as well. He's a lot further behind right now. He's just exiting Sector 2 here, and he'll cross the line in a moment. We'll get an idea of where his lap is relative to the likes of Danny Berezne, and this is fast from Alessio Di Capua. This is looking very, very good from him.
Yeah, let's look at this right now. Through the triple right-hander, you want to get this perfectly right. It seems like he does. You want to be so narrow, and that is wonderful. The perfect line through there. Oh, did he invalidate there?
No, he's still going. It's still good from Alessio Di Capua around the final corner. There's a car in the way, Suleimanoglu. Oh, and he
ghosted.
And it's okay because Alessio Di Capua kept his foot in and gets a 128.550. Fantastic attempt with Berezne and Carreton both about half a second behind.
I mean, I have to say, it takes some. I think the PG version of it is some stones.
Sure.
To go through a ghosted car and hope that it ghosts as it is on the racing line as you're finishing your lap. So that lap was remarkable, but risking it just to get that lap in, hoping that the ghost system would work. I mean, Alessio Di Capua, that is something else right there. That is a remarkable lap time to begin with, and ending it off in absolute style right there. Oh, this is an awful camera angle. As we look at Ben Sabakonyi, who's in 4th right now. So the Hungarians really, really strong here. Berezne 2nd, Sabakonyi 4th as things stand right now. But of course, Danny Moreno, not with the time yet. Daniela Haddad, not with the time yet. We're looking, who else? Ruben Vallejo, not with the time yet. Matias Vepech, not with the time yet. Tsvetkov, Tarabukin, both without a time. Many drivers still looking to get something going. I think Patrick Kruti, quite a bit slower than we would expect from him. Same can be said, I think, for Ruben Pedreño. Maya and Zeller, both United Nations drivers, can certainly go quicker. Yeah, as things stand, the Hungarians looking pretty good. But who do we have right now? I think we're waiting for a couple of outlaps. We have Suleimanoglu back into the pit lane, running into the back of, I think that's Vepe right there. It may have been Kruti, but that is that gone. So he has ended his run there. We have Moreno, Haddad, and Strivi, who is in for Team France, as they are all on laps right now, and Vallejo as well just started one.
Yeah, let's take a look then with Danny Moreno, because at the end of the first sector, it was very similar to his previous effort. It's about a 10th down on Berezne and Di Capua through there. Di Capua found most of his time through the middle and final sectors. Let's see what Moreno is going to be like coming towards the end of this sector. Last time around, he was a further 10th down on Berezne, and similarly on Carreton as well, who's right there with Berezne in terms of time. And let's see, as Danny Moreno gets down towards turn 12, using all the road on the entry, braking nice and wide, cutting nicely on the inside, keeping all 4 wheels on the track, and then comes to the end of it. Let's just double check that in the race director to see what kind of sector time that is. And that is very, very good indeed from Danny Moreno. That is a special sector 2 there. And it's all about now sector 3. If he nails this, he could be right up there with Alessio Di Capua.
Yeah, it's just 2 corners, but this one is one of the trickiest. You can't invalidate there, but you have to run it so narrow, so close to the line and onto the line, and it is just 100th of a second that Moreno misses out, and Haddad right behind misses out by just over 100th of a second on P3. against Danny Berezne. So really, really close for both drivers there. Moreno and Haddad missing out against their rivals here, DeCapua and Berezne, respectively. But both of them in the top 4.
Absolutely, and Berezne is now on a flying lap and improving slightly through the opening sector of the lap. Caraton starts a lap further behind as well, but let's keep an eye on what Danny Berezne is doing for the time being. His opening attempt was good enough for provisional pole for a while until Alessio Di Capua came along, and then Danny Moreno has also gone right up there with Alessio's time, as Berezne brakes now hard for turn 12. Uses a bit more of the road on the exit compared to Danny Moreno, and that second sector is not as good as Di Capua or Moreno. He's improving slightly on his best time, Berezne, but he needs to find a lot in the final sector. I think almost no matter what he does in this final sector, he's going to be looking at third at best, just sort of solidifying his grip on third. As he rounds the penultimate corner, he invalidates, and that's back into the pits. What's Caraton doing instead?
Yeah, we saw with Berezne there, that is a good situation there to invalidate around this track. If you do it in the penultimate corner, you at least, if you react quickly and you notice quickly, you can jump back into the pit lane immediately and just regroup for another run. So saved him there a little bit as Caraton now through the penultimate corner. That looks perfectly fine. 2 wheels on the track there. And through the final one, and runs off wide. Is that an invalidation? No, it's not. Wow. I mean, that's a questionable one, but if the game says it's fine, then it's fine. Caraton up to P3, 2/10 behind DeCapua and Moreno.
It's one of those situations where if you pull off the throttle on the exit of the corner, if you run wide, as long as you slow down enough, the game thinks, that's okay, you've made an effort here. I'm still going to give you that time. And it shows actually in the fact that that final sector was about a 10th down on both Moreno and DeCapua. That is where Caraton has lost the time, probably mostly in that final corner. Christoph Zeller just came across the line and slightly improved, still there in 8th. And teammate Milan Mayer is currently in 10th and on a flying lap. Ben Sabukonyi is also just starting a flying lap. But let's see Mayer then towards the end of this lap for the United Nations team, as he now rounds the final corner, getting close to that orange curving on the inside, using all the road on the exit. And he moves ahead of his teammate and ahead of Sabukonyi, up into 7th. Goetze up into 9th now for Team Germany as well. Sabukonyi, meanwhile, he's heading into turn 11.
Yeah, good setup there for the long straight from him, as he now opens the rear wing. Long straight coming, and it looks good so far from Sabukonyi as he's heading into turn 12. Gets it right, gets it good right there. Yeah, that looks fantastic. 13, bit of a trickier one. 14, the double right-hander here. And now 15, that only counts as one corner, even though it's sort of a double apex corner, but you're braking in the first one for the second, so they count it as one. 16, 17, 18, yeah, flat out, narrow, really narrow, that's how you want to run it. 19, good one right there, and 20, but what does the time show? Ultimately, the time doesn't lie, and the time shows it was a good lap. He beats his teammate Berezne right now by 35 milliseconds. Up to P4 goes Sabukonyi.
Caraton, and he really needs to be up there, though. He needs to make sure that there's no one between himself and the rest of the top runners. Because in general, Ben Sabukonyi, he's a step down a little bit in terms of pace from the Italians, from the Spanish, and from his teammate Berezne. But if he can be best of the rest, he maybe can ensure that he's able to stick in a DRS train with the front runners. He's good enough for that. And he can maybe try and do something to help Danny Berezne out on strategy. And that's what Hungary desperately need going into this final race.
Yeah, they need him to get as strong of a result as he can. And we know he has the talent. We know he has the ability. I think for him, it's mostly about consistency. But this one lap right there, that was already pretty good. Ahead of his teammate, close to Caraton. I think that's where he wants to be, ahead of Haddad as well. As DeCapua apparently has taken out of his lap. He goes back into the pit lane. He might have invalidated. But let's look at Daniela Haddad right here. He was very hopeful in the pre-race interview at the start of the stream. He likes this track, and he's hopeful that he can get something going here. as he is now in the middle sector, firmly onto the back straight. He comes, the Mercedes pulls out of the way. That's very helpful for Haddad right there, as he is now flying down the back straight. This is where it's all about top speed. Good acceleration out of the corner, and then just on the throttle. And now the braking looks good right now. I think he left a little bit on the table there, actually. And lock up there into turn 13 and 14. This is not helping him right now. But I'm not so sure this is as fast as it may have seemed initially. Don't think Haddad might be able to improve very much. Maybe he can beat Sabakonyi, but I don't think it's... Oh, he may have invalidated right there, and he has indeed on turn 19 on the exit, and that is him back into the pit lane and regrouping for another run.
He returns to the pits. Meanwhile, Danny Moreno goes to the very top, and Danny Berezne has been able to slot himself into third ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Nice lap there from Danny Moreno. He moves the sticks further down the road, and Alessio Di Capio finds himself away from provisional pole position for the first time in a long time here in this qualifying session. So it's Moreno from Di Capio from Berezne, then Caraton, Zabokonyi, and Haddad. So we've got all 6 of the 3 teams of their drivers up at the top, in the top 6 right now, and they're all jumbled up. It's looking very, very fascinating if this were to be the grid going into the race, but there's still one more lap from each of them remaining in this qualifying session. I think everyone is either heading into the pit or already in the pit lane, apart from Suleimanoglu, who's out there on an out lap right now. He's down on a 1:31.0. He's not been able to find a lot of pace here. Ripich and Yigit are both still yet to set representative lap times in this session.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The 2 Polish drivers now out as well, and Strivi for France. So 4 drivers out on track, starting the out laps very early, in fact. I think they want to give themselves 2 runs to complete here. In case they mess up the first one, because it is so easy to invalidate a lap that they are saying, you know what, rather have one in the back of my hand to make sure that there's still an opportunity left for me to get a lap in. So very, very smart decision, I think, here by the likes of Kruti, Vepich, Suleimanoglu, and Strivi to just go for something more and have 2 chances at hand. As we see Suleimanoglu, the first one to start his lap. We are, however, looking at Kruti. He's the closest to the top 6 right now, and Kruti might jumble up a little bit of the order right here if he can get a good lap in. And if he doesn't, well, he has another opportunity right after. He actually lets Vepich by. That might be for slipstream purposes down the back straight.
It's definitely possible, actually, and I wonder maybe if that is something they're going to try and pull off here, because that would be very, very helpful, actually. They are both on out laps right now, though, so I think they're both just going to be starting their flying laps, and maybe Vepich wanted to get on with it a little bit quicker than Patrick Kruti. Of course, critically, Vepich has yet to set a proper lap time. If he invalidates this run, he needs to make sure he has enough time to go again, so that might be why he got a bit of a move on there in terms of that out lap.
Yeah, possibly. I'm pretty sure all the drivers in their respective teams are talking to each other as of right now. They're probably in a Discord together somewhere and talking to each other, maybe with an engineer at hand as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Kruti and Vepich were talking there, and Vepich or both of them know that Vepich has to get on with it to have a possible second chance. For Kruti, it's not that important. He is 7th already, so he is, as you called it, best of the rest right now, outside of the top 3 teams. And as such, it's not as important for him to get a better lap time, but it still helps for sure for the Polish team. As we look at Kruti here now through the final sector, he is on his way, and it looks neat and tidy. No drama with the car. Goes a bit narrow here, interestingly. That doesn't have to be bad, though. That might be a good choice. There are multiple lines through that corner of turn 15, the left-hander. And has a bit of traffic there at Alfa Romeo in front. There's more traffic coming on. And Kruti across the line. Is it an improvement, yes or no? It is. Up to P5. Improves by 1/10 of a second. Kruti up to P5.
I tell you what, though, Ben Zabaconyi has set, I think, the fastest middle sector time of anyone so far in this qualifying session. He is flying out there as Danny Moreno will not be able to improve on his lap. Bit of a moment there for Zabaconyi out the final corner, but he goes up into third. Couldn't quite displace Alessio Di Capua, but now the fight is well and truly on at the front. Di Capua has found a bit in the opening sector. I think Varesne has set his best first sector of the qualifying session so far. Meanwhile, Alvaro Carreton, he's also on a very, very quick lap. He's 2/10 up on his PB through sector 2, and that's going to put him right in range to challenge the likes of Alessio Di Capua. It's going to be Carreton of the front runners who's going to be the next one across the line. Let's see, has he nailed this final sector as he rounds the final corner, crosses the line, and yes, he has. Straight to the top for him, a 1:28.403. Next up of the main contenders is Alessio Di Capua, who invalidates through the penultimate corner. He's got it wrong. He took too much curb on the inside, and that will be an invalidation then for Alessio Di Capua. Danny Varesne, he's still on a good lap, though. It's not quite so good through the middle sector as the two Spaniards, but he can recover that in the final sector if he absolutely nails it here. Just 2 corners left now for the Hungarian. He turns in a little bit early, perhaps, for the penultimate corner. The final corner comes at you quickly. You take a lot of the inside curb, using all the curb on the exit, crosses the line, and he can't displace them. He gets ahead of Di Capua, but it's up to third and third alone for Danny Varesne. Meanwhile, Daniele Haddad is down there in 7th with Cruti ahead of him, and he's not going to be happy about that, but fantastic qualifying once again from Team Spain.
It's absolutely remarkable how good these two are in qualifying. They always just seem to have a step or two on everyone else. Carreton and Moreno, second qualifying of the day. Remember, the race in Spain was a reverse grid race, so no qualifying there. But the second qualifying and the second front row lookout for the Spanish Armada. Carreton once again ahead of Moreno, so it seems like Carreton is also the slightly better qualifier between those two. At least today he is. Don't want to make generalized statements there, but certainly seems like today Carreton absolutely on form.
Yeah, I got to say, it's been very impressive, because in general, I'd say that Danny Moreno has slightly had the upper hand in the teammate partnership. They've been pretty much the closest teammates I think we've seen, but I would say that Danny Moreno has tended to be that half a tenth faster, something like that. And there's a reason Danny Moreno has been signed, of course, by the Mercedes F1 esports team. But nevertheless, Alvaro Carreton has slightly had the edge on him today, you'd have to say, and it has been very, very impressive to see. Of course, we'll never know what could have happened at the Spanish Grand Prix because of that awkward situation at the start of the race that saw Carreton picking up wing damage. But nevertheless, very, very impressive step up here. If a step was to be made, Carreton has managed to make that in this final event.
Yeah, certainly. Now, however, there's one goal for the Spaniards, and that is to make sure that they bring this 1-2 home. Here's the situation. No matter what the stewards and admins of ORL and FuturEsports decide at the end of the race, or after the event, I should say, about Spain, if the Spanish team is able to beat Italy by 1 point and beat Hungary by 15, then it won't matter anyway, and the Spaniards crown themselves champions here at the US Grand Prix, and we'd only have to look at the event over who comes second. But other than that, it won't matter. In fact, they don't have to. They don't even have to gain 15 points on any team because of if the results count. I think all they need really is they need to basically draw even with Italy, and they'd be fine because they scored about 14 points in the Spanish race, but it was a 1-5 for Italy. So even if that counts, it's not a 1-2. It's not 46 points. And so ultimately, long-winded way of saying, if they get a 1-2 here, if the Spanish team somehow gets a 1-2 off the front row, I say somehow, it is likely. We've seen it earlier today in France. But if that happens, if they can bring this home, then there is no chance for any other team to beat them whatsoever. As we look at the tires, of course, the top 10, starting on the softs, that they have to, as they qualified on those. Then, bit of a mixture behind that. We have 7 cars on the mediums and 3 more on the softs. That would be Vepe, Morichon, and Yigit, who are all starting on the softs, and everyone else on the mediums. So we see split strategy there for the Germans, because Sendel in the top 10 softs, Götze mediums. Split strategy for the United Nations team. Split strategy for the Europeans. Same strategy for the Poles, but of course 10 places apart. And split strategy for the French and the Turks. Only the Europeans, out of all those, well, and the Russians, of course. Only the Russians. Only the Russians are the team that has the same strategy with at least one driver outside the top 10.
Yeah, just quickly, we should probably note the arrival of Maurichon and Strevi for Team France, as well as Leonard Götze coming in for Germany. Christian Sendel also, of course, making his return to that team. We saw him in the first race of the day. And, of course, as you've realized, Alessio Di Capua and Daniela Haddad are representing Italy in this one. I think that is the long and short of the driver changes we have in this race compared to the last one in Spain. In all the confusion, that got a little bit lost there, but that is the case. But it is still Caraton and Moreno, who have driven every single race in the Nations Cup on behalf of Team Spain. And they have been absolutely special doing it. They have been incredible. And once again, they lock out the front row with Berezne and Di Capua snapping at their heels. And the thing is, Alessio Di Capua, on that last lap, I don't know how fast he was going, but he invalidated. So he might have had a chance to pole here. So we cannot count out Alessio Di Capua in the race.
Yeah, we cannot count out Danny Berezne either, of course. We know how quick the Hungarian is. So there's certainly a couple of opportunities there for him. Same is true, I would say, for Daniela Haddad. We know his pace. And, of course, Patrick Ruti and Ben Sabaconi, they're ahead of Haddad. So they might also be able to get something going. But here we are for the final race of the Nations Cup.
Lights then are coming on. It's an all-Spanish front row. And we are underway for the last time here in Texas. And Caraton leads from Danny Moreno. There's Danny Berezne already going to the extreme inside to try and do something about the Spanish 1-2, but he can't do it. Meanwhile, behind, Ben Sabaconi is looking to take the position away from Alessio Di Capua here. And this could be a great start for the Hungarians. If they can't beat Spain, they at least want to beat Italy. And they have been able to move Di Capua down to 5th. It's Berezne 3rd, Sabaconi 4th. The two Spaniards still leading. Di Capua down to 5th with Kruti and Haddad still in behind, exactly where they started. Meanwhile, further down the order, Matthias Vipich has had a great start to the race along with Umit Yigit. They've both gained several positions as Haddad is under pressure here from Ruben Vallejo, who sends a dive bomb at the inside of turn 11, and he's managed to close the door on the exit. Daniela Haddad loses out.
There's wing damage as well from one of the cars behind. We saw the wing shoot up into the sky. I think that was Ruben Pedreño's end plate. It certainly was a red end plate, and I think that was a Ferrari, and indeed it was.
Sabaconi, Di Capua still battling here. Berezne was maybe looking to get involved in the fight as well, but he has been able to keep himself above water just for the time being. Behind them, Vallejo is getting dive bombed by Daniela Haddad into turn 16. It's a classic maneuver, and Haddad pushes him wide on the exit. Vallejo won't be too happy with that, and I wonder, will Haddad give him the position back? No. He's pushing on around the outside, and they make contact. And they're both round. Daniele Haddad made contact. It was the outside line for him. Vallejo went into his inside. And they both go tumbling down to the bottom of the order.
Yeah, that to me looked like Vallejo, remember, in the beginning of the second sector, before the back straight, went for the move, went for the dive bomb on Haddad. Haddad paid him back. And there goes Haddad again with another move on Vallejo. And overshoots the corner there. Vallejo coming right back at him. Vallejo was having none of it. Oh, there's a Hasselhoff. That's one of the Turkish drivers. That's Süleyman Noglu, I think, who's off into the wall. I'm going to try and find him, but that's quite difficult as everything's moving. Yes, it was him. It was Süleyman Noglu indeed. And he has significant damage. So one of the Turkish drivers here off and damaged. But he can at least continue. But yeah, it was really just a back and forth between Vallejo and Haddad, and they were both giving each other none of it. I think there was a bit of frustration from both drivers there in how they conducted each other ultimately. And, well, it ended in both of them just giving each other no inch, not even one. They make contact, they both spin. I think they brought that upon themselves.
Here comes Abukonyi and DiCaprio pulls the same move as her dad did a lap ago. Hopefully, with happier consequences, he stays more to the inside on the exit of the corner, and that gives Abukonyi the room he needs. And as a result, they're playing much nicer with each other, are DiCaprio and Abukonyi. And Abukonyi does hold on to fourth there, but these guys are now losing out on time relative to Berezne ahead as a result of this battle. And Berezne himself, he's only just keeping up with the Spanish here. He's not within DRS range right now. Meanwhile, here comes Alessio DiCaprio now around the outside this time of Bent Abukonyi into turn one. It's the cutback from DiCaprio, cuts the inside of the corner to try and get the power down earlier. Couldn't get it down early enough, though. And Abukonyi still holds on to fourth. DiCaprio clearly the faster car right now, but Abukonyi is making that Alfa Romeo very wide indeed.
Yeah, and he has to. I mean, these two teams are obviously in a very, very close battle with each other. And it's very important for the likes of Hungary to keep those positions away from Italy, especially after Haddad's problems with Vallejo on the first two laps here. As Suleimanoglu retires in the pit lane, that is his race over after the spin in the first sector. Very important for the Hungarians to at least secure that second place here ahead of Italy. But here goes to Capua. At least gets... Oh, they touch! Oh, I think DiCaprio thought he was past it. He wasn't. He misjudged it altogether. But he's still on the inside now. And ahead, there's Kruti also waiting in the wings. And this time around, DiCaprio has it and covers the inside smartly. So that Abukonyi cannot shoot it up there. And it is DiCaprio now up to P4. What a... Wow, that was so close. That was so dangerous right there.
Indeed, a bit of heat maybe coming into that battle as well, but Alessio DiCaprio does manage to make the move then. As, what's that, Kruti into the pit lane, I believe, followed in by Christian Sendel. They were both right there with those cars. They were well within that train that DiCaprio and Abukonyi were leading the way in. Both of them heading into the pits to strap on a set of medium tyres. Leonard Goetze went into the pits a couple laps ago. He's on hards to the end of the race.
Yeah, that is a very surprising choice, I have to say. Usually, with the soft tires lasting as long as they do, and the mediums even lasting longer, you could take the mediums if you didn't have to pit. You could use the mediums for the whole race, it would be fine. So I'm very surprised to see him go on hards. Maybe it was because he started on mediums. I think that is the case. Yeah, because Sendel started on softs and the Germans had a split strategy. So Goetze started on mediums, had to pit early for damage, and then went for the hards because the softs won't make it. So that was his decision there. Very unfortunate for him. He's basically out of the running at this point. Shame to see Germany in P18 and P19 once again, speaking as a German myself. Very sad to see, but we have a title fight to look at. The Spaniards currently still with a 1-2. Moreno leading from Caraton. Berezne over a second behind. No DRS for him in third. And DiCaprio holding off Abukonyi for fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. And DiCaprio not really closing these guys down right now. Berezne is getting a bit closer to the rear wing of Caraton. Danny Moreno actually got past Caraton on that last lap. They sort of did some formation flying down the back stretch in towards turn 12. They allowed Danny Moreno to get ahead. Further behind, that's Abukonyi, Vepech, and Zvetkov retires. Trying to get into the pit lane? Maybe, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that looks like it. Tried to go into the pit lane, maybe. Certainly took that the penultimate corner wrong. Starts spinning out and into the wall he went. I think that's very clear from the way the car was parked there. That was a spin out of the penultimate corner and into the wall on the inside. So Zvetkov, our second retirement of the day. He is out as well, and it is up to Tarabukin to get something going as he's in P6 right now, but of course, based on the pit stops that are still left to come, you lose about 18.5 seconds in the pit lane here around this track, so if we just quickly add that to Tarabukin's time, he'll end up at around 30.5 seconds, so he'll be behind Vepech at that point. So that would be 4 more places. He's in a net P10 right now.
Meanwhile, Abukonyi is actually I think he got held in the pit lane there, and Patrick Kruti has been able to capitalize and get past the Hungarian. They both now pass Trevi on this lap, who has yet to pit the Frenchman in that Renault car. Vallejo also got back past Milan Maya on this lap. So Vallejo making a bit more progress back up the field after his unfortunate start to the race. Christian Sendown now getting past Trevi, as Danny Berezne, because he was edging closer to the Spaniards and now he's pulled into the pits. So it's possible that he can get the undercut on these guys. But how many times have we seen the Spaniards holding it out later, staying out later, letting other drivers undercut them, and then just getting them back on track again? We saw it in France, for instance.
Yeah, we saw it earlier today, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. We have to look at the gap. 19.8 right now, 19.9 on the exit of turn 1. That is what he's going to be measured against. And we'll see how this goes. 18.5 is what you lose in the pit lane. And that matches up with the 1.5 second gap he had, or really about 2 second gap he had to Moreno, and about just over 1 second he had to Caraton. So yeah, that's the gap right there. 18.5 seconds. If he can close in on the two Spaniards, he might have an opportunity here. And he is slightly gaining. Question is, how are the Spaniards going to solve that? Are they going to do the same thing again where Caraton, being the second driver, is the first one in and they risk it all or nothing and Moreno stays out longer? Or are they going to switch it around this time and cut their losses and say, well, Moreno goes first, Caraton is already lost at that point? He isn't gaining that much. Look at that, Berezne. They're both... Oh, never mind. I was going to say they're both staying out, but at the last moment, Caraton goes in. So they're doing the same thing again. We'll see how it works this time. I think they have a better chance because Berezne has not been gaining as much as he would have liked to. 19 seconds as he's coming through the penultimate corner, so he gained about half a second at most. I don't think this is going to be enough.
We'll see then as he's entering the main straight. Meanwhile, Alessio Di Capua has actually come out of the pits behind Patrick Cruti on that last lap, so that could be critical in the battle. Here comes Berezne then, there's Caraton, and Caraton is still ahead. Berezne will have a bit more momentum here on the exit of turn 1, and he has tyres up to temperature right now, but we're going straight into the S section, and not only is it hard to pass there, but it's going to warm up Alvaro Caraton's tyres a treat, and he should be all right as Zeller picks up a time penalty there in second at the moment. Daniela Haddad is mired down in the pack. He's having a battle with Milan Mayer right now. He's been able to get past him. And Patrick Cruti, meanwhile, he might be playing spoiler in the battle between Italy and Hungary over second position.
Yeah, this is one of the intricacies of this track, if you think about it. You mentioned that you're coming out of the pit lane, not necessarily with the warmest tires, but there's no real overtaking opportunity other than turn 1. And if you're then stuck behind another car, that first sector really warms up the tires, so you don't have to worry about it.
Ooh, Di Capua thought about a move there on Patrick Cruti. He got very, very close to the rear wing of the Polish driver, but he didn't send a dive bomb up the inside of turn 12. And I tell you what, Di Capua from half a year ago sent that dive bomb every time, so I think I'm seeing some growth here in the driving style of Alessio Di Capua. And maybe developing some more consistency alongside that as well, because he is one of the fastest drivers on F1 2020. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes the consistency is lacking, but that was a mature decision I just watched him make.
Yeah, and he's just waiting for the right moment, and this is something that a lot of racing drivers have to learn, especially at a young age. If you're a sim racer just about to start, sometimes it's better wait off a little bit, hold off a little bit, as Moreno has rejoined after his pit stop in the lead ahead of Caraton, so, but only just. I mean, look at how close this is. Right there between the two Williams. They have to be careful not to run into each other's backs here, and they are taking care of making sure that that's not going to happen. But yeah, this is something that you need to learn. You can't just always send it and try to go for the first move that you see available. As much as we all like to say, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Sometimes the gap doesn't exist and you misjudged it. So for Di Capua to say, hey, this is not the opportunity here, was a good choice. Now, this time around, I think he's a lot closer. This might be the one to go for.
We will see. Alessio Di Capua not really going to be close enough, I don't think, by the end of the straight. He's not deploying his overtake either. And that's another thing. It puts a bit of an exclamation mark after the dominance of the Italians, the Spanish, sorry, here, and on the day in general. The fact that they both have above 50% battery charge right now, around that 50% mark. Everyone else behind them is in a significantly worse battery state. Berezne is the only one close to them, and he's at about 40% right now. The rest of them are all using their batteries so much, and yet it's still a Spanish 1-2. And that just goes to show how impressive their driving has been.
Yeah, that to me is very surprising because usually a Circuit of the Americas is a track where you can regain some ERS quite well and quite easily. So for the drivers to burn through their battery charge, very surprising at this point to have 50%. That means that Moreno and Caraton can easily defend from Berezne. 50% means you can basically run a whole lap in hot lap mode. You obviously don't have that available, but you can burn your battery charge, your deployment down to the point where you have none left over the course of a lap. Of course, that is limited. And so for both of them to have 50% just about, that is the perfect situation to be in right now, where you can actually try and go for one full-on fast lap and potentially even distance Danny Berezne.
Here we go then between DiCaprio and Cruti once again. Third round in this particular scrap. And Alessio DiCaprio is about just about 3/10 back from Patrick Cruti at the moment. Maybe about 4/10 as he once again he's not deploying his overtake. Cruti deployed a lot of overtake on this lap though to defend on this very straight. And that means that next lap around is going to be DiCaprio's big chance. He's been able to farm up his ERS just a little bit more efficiently then in these last couple of laps compared to the Red Bull up ahead.
If I was DiCaprio right now, I'd be looking at the situation, I'd be looking at the gap, seeing there's 2 cars behind me, there's about 1 car in front of me, and then the rest is either too far away up front or too far away behind. So at this point, DiCaprio is fighting over 4th place and 4th place only. So what do? Well, you wait. You play the waiting game. You try and recharge your battery as much as possible. You try not to overtake. You don't really use a lot of your overtake energy, of your battery energy, and that's exactly what he's doing here. Strategy-wise, great call from DiCaprio, just being patient and hoping to get that 4th place either on lap 12 or lap 13.
Absolutely, and now there is still Patrick Cruti playing spoiler right now in the battle between Italy and Hungary. He's there in 4th. He's got DiCaprio and Zabukoni in captivity behind him, along with Christian Sendel, who I should shout out here because he's having a fantastic race. Now, I've seen Christian Sendel race in other racing leagues, and he's always been a very impressive talent to me, and he's really come out of nowhere in the last half a year in particular, and he's really showing he's at the level of the likes of Zabukoni almost right now. He's struggling a little bit, admittedly, to hold on to the back of this train, but he's comfortably gapping the rest of the field. Zella, Vepech, Tarabuk, and the rest of those guys behind. He is quite a ways clear of them for now. So I want to just shout out a very good performance here from Christian Sen.
Yeah, certainly. One of the more impressive drivers, especially with the expectations. Of course, if we look at drivers like Danny Moreno, Alvaro Caraton, Danny Berezne, all their fun esports drivers, we expect a lot of them and they usually deliver. But for a driver like Sendel to just burst onto the scene as he has, as you mentioned, in the last half a year or so, and to then consistently show the kind of performance that he has, it's something impressive to see, and yeah, very much understandable, that shout out right there, and I'm gonna second that one. Meanwhile, we have the top 3 still running here: Moreno, Caraton, Berezne. I don't think Berezne will ever get close enough to get that position off of the Spaniards. The only way he can get a position better than 3 is if they somehow make a mistake that will get them a penalty. And if you quickly want to look what the penalty or the warning situation is for all 3 of them, that would be very kind, because I obviously can't do that. But that would be very interesting to see how many of them are running on 2 warnings, 1 warning, maybe even none, which would be a very big surprise to me around this track, where it's so easy to just pick one up accidentally. You're running a little bit wide here, a little bit wide there. Whoops. Yeah. Well, that's a warning right there. You get 3 of them, that's a penalty.
So of the top 6, Zabukoni is the only one without any warnings whatsoever. Moreno has 1, Berezne has 1. Alvaro Caraton is currently sitting on 2 warnings. So 1 more extension, 1 more corner cutting penalty, or 1 more corner cutting instance for Alvaro Caraton, and he will pick up a 3-second time penalty that would move him behind Danny Berezne. However, there's no one else really close to these guys. So even if Caraton picks that up, he's still on the podium, his teammate still wins, and Spain still definitely take the overall victory in the Nations Cup. It's going to take some kind of calamity here for the Williams cars of Team Spain not to have a double podium finish.
Yeah, that is for certain. I mean, Caraton at this point is over 6 seconds ahead of Cruti in 4th, so Even if he gets 2 penalties at this point, he would still be third. He can't just afford 1, he can afford 2. As Zeller and Sendel are battling over P7, Zeller gets it done. Into turn 1, gets the move on the German with the fresher soft tires, so Zeller with a massive advantage here. Should be moving through the field a bit quicker as well. Sabakonyi should be the next target for Zeller, but it won't matter too much ultimately as Zeller has penalties, as does Sendel behind as well. So for Zeller, even if he gets positions on track, he might not be able to hold on to them as soon as the race is over.
Maybe I shouldn't have complimented Christian Sendel, because the lap after I did, he got passed and then immediately picked up a time penalty. But nevertheless, he's been having a very impressive time. Meanwhile, here comes Alessio Di Caprio, and he finally manages to make the move there on Patrick Cruti. Alessio up into 4th. 6 seconds, give or take, between himself and Danny Berezne, so 4th is all he could hope for here. But that might make a bit of a difference, because it's going to be very close between Italy and Hungary. If that last race in Spain doesn't count, then I think Hungary will still take it. If that last race in Spain does count, does count, then I think this should be enough for Italy to run through with their 1-5 finish and Team Hungary not scoring in Spain.
I mean, it's certainly going to be really close, but I think if it does count, then Italy, I'm with you there, Italy would have the situation in their favor and they would get 2nd place, but we'll see about that later on. We'll see the live standings after this race. What we, I think, can say is unless... no, I shouldn't say this. This is commentator's curse material right there. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. But I'm going to say this right now. As things stand right now, things look very good for Team Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm not a believer in the commentator's curse myself, even if I sometimes joke about it. I think you can say what you want. And the drivers, it's up to them at the end of the day what they get done on track or not. But Danny Moreno does lead then from Alvaro Caraton. How many times have we said that so far in the Nations Cup? Danny Berezne right there with them in 3rd. And it's looking like a bit of a carbon copy of the race back in France right now. But the Spanish, very, very solid position. Interestingly, and credit to Danny Berezne, because at one point he was 1.8 seconds behind the 2nd place driver. And that point, that was Danny Moreno. He's closed in and kept within DRS range since the pit stops to the Spanish. And they have been so good at this circuit. So that's impressive from Danny Berezne to be able to dig deep and to find this level of performance to stay with these guys now.
Yeah, certainly. It's a fantastic drive from all 3 at the front and some more, I think, if we're looking at the likes of Cruti, Sabakonyi, Zeller, Zendel, Tarabukin as well. I think some of the drivers have been doing really well in this race. Zeller gained 6 places. Vepe gained 5. So they've been working through the field quite well. Very solid drive as well from Yigit down in 15th. Umid Yigit, who he's been flying under the radar. He doesn't have the outright pace of a lot of these drivers, but to be in a spot where, if I can quickly find this, there we go, where you're in a spot where you're 35 seconds behind a guy like Danny Moreno after 14 laps, as he's now being passed by Goetze, so that maybe that is commentator's curse right there. But still, Yigit with a very solid performance, considering his relative lack of pace compared to a lot of... I mean, he would definitely smoke me, I can easily admit to that. But, you know, against the likes of F1 esports drivers, there's just not much he can do. But a solid race... okay. We need to stop complimenting drivers, really. Yeah, we need to stop now.
Back at front here, because Danny Moreno is coming through the final sector of the final lap, and he full risks it through 19 as well. He doesn't bother worrying about warnings or anything like that. Here comes Danny Moreno and Felicidades España as they take the 1-2 in Texas to claim victory in the race and overall in the ORL FuturEsports and Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming. Barring any major post-race penalties, Spain are your champions.
And what a deserved victory it is for them. What a deserved championship it is for them. Well done to Danny Moreno and Alvaro Caraton and the whole team behind them as well. The engineers and everyone who helped them get there. But the driving from both of them, just absolutely superb. Time and time again. The consistency, I think, is what really made this for them. It's one thing to have a good result. It's a completely different thing to have good result after good result after good result. And yes, there have been a little bit of bumps at some points. I'm just thinking about all the wins Alvaro Carreton had on track that he then had taken away later on. But yeah, ultimately, I think we have crowned a deserving champion here in the Spanish team, and they are celebrating this in style with a 1-2 at the final race. Congratulations to Spain.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, for Spain as well, they were good at the start of the season. As the season went on, they just got better and better. And by the end, they were clearly the best two drivers. I mean, look at it at the end there. Dani Beresne fell back to around 2 seconds down from Dani Moreno. He was no longer in DRS range of Alvaro Carreton. The Spanish, throughout this season, have found more and more and more in terms of pace. And I am so excited to see what these guys can do, what Dani Moreno and Alvaro Carreton can do on F1 2020. Hopefully for them, the game suits them, because they are going into the next F1 esports season building up a true head of steam. And I want to just say congratulations to them as well, in English as well as in Spanish, because that was really fantastic to watch them throughout this whole season. And commiserations, of course, to the Hungarian team and to the Italian team. I believe with this result, Team Hungary will take second and Team Italy will take third. Unfortunately, of course, that incident between Vallejo and Haddad had Daniele Haddad finishing down in 13th, and as a result, only claiming 3 points for the Italian team. And I think that won't be enough to keep them ahead of Hungary, regardless of whether the Spanish Grand Prix results are counted. But I hope they are counted, because I want to say best drive of the day. While Dani Moreno and Carreton were excellent, the best drive of the day was Dario Yamulo in Spain.
Yeah, certainly. I think of all the performances that we have seen, it was Dario Yamulo around Spain from 17th to win. An absolutely stellar drive, and I really hope that wasn't in vain. But we'll see about that. What we can say is that Spain are the champions, and even, I mean, we would have to find them, I don't know, we'd have to find them doping or something and completely disqualified in order for Spain to have that taken away. And I don't even know how you can dope in sim racing. I don't think it's possible. I don't think we have doping tests. So, yeah, just remarkable to make it that decisive in the end as well. And we have the live standings. But I have to say, before we look at them, these are the live standings without the result from Spain. The result from Spain might change this. So quickly, let's look at this. And it is Spain at exactly 350 points. If Spain is counted, I think the Spanish team would end up at around 364, just 1 point shy of the amount of days in a year. The Hungarians would drop down to third if the Spanish race was counted, because they would stay at 302. But Dario Yamulo winning would get 25 points, so he alone would tie Italy and Hungary if Spain is counted, with, of course, Domenico Lovece getting a 5th place there as well. That would see them past Hungary. So we'll see if that happens, but as things stand right now, without Spain counted, without the Spanish Grand Prix counted, I should say, it is Team Spain that wins the ORL FuturEsports Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming, ahead of Hungary, Italy, Poland, with a very remarkable 4th place right there. They seem to be in the running for a long time. Ultimately, in the end, they ran a little bit out of steam. Team Europe 5th, France 6th, UN 7th, Russia 8th, Turkey 9th, and it pains me to say, so I'm not going to say it. Aladar, you're going to have to say who's 10th.
Team Germany in 10th. There we go. And I'm sorry you couldn't bring yourself to say that one. But now we have a couple of, I imagine, very happy drivers joining us here in the commentary box. So why don't we have a couple of words with them? Alvaro, Dani, felicidades, congratulations on winning the Nations Cup. How does it feel?
Well, thank you. And yeah, it feels great to be finally, after so many races, being able to win the championship.
Indeed, and I gotta say, your races today, barring the race in Spain, which obviously there's a lot going on with that race, but if we just talk about France and the USA for now, you guys had such good pace. You know, front row on both, and just controlling each race perfectly. Is this the result of a lot of practice? It seems to me like you guys have only got stronger and stronger as the season's gone on.
Well, obviously it's the end of the game, so we already know all the setups, and basically you become it, you don't need any practice at all. You just drive and suddenly you start doing good lap times. So yeah, we didn't practice that much, but obviously the pace was there since the beginning. In France, we were a lot faster, I think, compared to the rest of the field. And then in USA as well, I feel like we were much faster than the rest. So yeah, I mean, great result for us.
Yeah, congratulations. And also, Alvaro, I mean, how were these races today from your perspective?
Yeah, muchas gracias for congratulating us. And yeah, to be honest, it was the perfect event, apart from Spain, because obviously Beresney had the sync, and not sure what's gonna happen with that race. But in France and in USA, I think we showed what we are capable of. We had better pace than everyone. We played the strategy in a perfect way that benefits the team, and I think, yeah, really happy with it.
And also, then, if we go on to the prizes you guys will be receiving, are you excited for the prizes that you guys are going to be getting?
Yeah, a little bit, no.
Well, congratulations once again, and thank you very much. Seems like we've got an absolute queue of drivers lining up for interviews, so we'll let you guys go, unless there's any final words you'd both like to say.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right.
See you guys, and yeah, thanks for commentating all the races. I've seen them from outside, and they are really good. So yeah, cheers for that.
Well, thank you very much. Your driving has been very pleasurable for us to commentate on as well. So thank you. And
good night.
Good night. And now I think we will move on to Danny Beresney, who managed to claim third in that last race in the USA. First of all, commiserations, Danny. How are you feeling?
Guys, yeah, feeling pretty good after the podium. We finished both ahead of one Italian with myself and Photon, and they were my main rivals today, to be honest, because Spain was just simply too fast. They have two top esports drivers, and obviously I also try to consider myself as one as well, but they were just so much faster than us all along, and cars are vehicles, so it's all in their hands and in their legs, so hats off to them. But yeah, they worked together perfectly. I didn't have any weapon against them, and I was just happy to be the best of the rest, as they say.
Indeed, and you were the best of the rest, and you brought many race wins and podiums throughout the season as well. I mean, do you look back on the whole season as a success? Do you see it as an opportunity lost, or how do you feel about the Nations Cup as a whole?
To be honest, I feel this is a very successful season. Obviously, the full decision hasn't been made, but I consider ourselves as P2 in the country championship. And as we were only leading, or we were only P2 throughout the whole season, basically, I don't think it would be fair that a glitched race, which we restarted a couple of times, and we did a nice things to the other, then it ruins us who were already there, would have a perfect race. So the thing is that I think it's a pretty strong result for us, because my teammates were not esports drivers. They never participated in esports, so it was a very new thing for them, and they put in a lot of hours of practice. They found the perfect setups, and they really performed great under the pressure, and obviously alone I could have never done that. So I really want to just thank you for them, and I feel this a pretty great success, because obviously we were up against two top esports drivers, and obviously it's always a better taste to win, but I think P2 is pretty nice results.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, in that last race as well, in particular, Bent Sabakoni right there in qualifying as well. So he really stepped up for that final event. So I completely agree with you there on the rest of your team all putting in the work and getting some decent results as well. Thank you very much for talking to us, Danny, and congratulations on your podiums on the day.
Thank you.
So next up, I believe we will speak to the Italian team. And why don't we start then with Daniele Haddad, as we saw him racing most recently. First of all, Daniele, commiserations on the race for yourself. Would you like to take us through what happened between yourself and Ruben Vallejo?
Yeah, first of all, I start with what Danny said. Beresnay, I believe, is not totally true because I don't know what happened in Spain exactly, but I know that in this championship we have been enough penalized. So I hope, as a captain of Team Italy, that some situation will be seen in a different way. Both wins between Abu Dhabi and Spain, with the guys doing an amazing job, can be deleted. I don't see where it would be fair enough to have us out of second position. That's being totally honest. Personally speaking, yeah, there was a guy called Ruben, I believe, I don't know, probably Spanish, that decided to destroy my race. I didn't do, honestly, a very good job in the quali. I wasn't enough strong tonight, but to be fair, I didn't practice enough for it. And so I don't have any kind of excuse for that kind of performance, very bad in quali. But in the race, I believe the standard should have been a bit different of driving. It didn't happen, but I mean, that's not where I am complaining for. I'm complaining for other few things where I'm always have been very nice and kind to all the organization. Be kind is one thing, be stupid is another one. I believe that it's not good what was happening to us.
Indeed. Well, yeah. Well, thank you for revealing to us your thoughts on the matter and for saying it in a very eloquent way as well. Thank you very much, Daniele. And also,
No problem.
and then if we then think about the other races today, of course, you were watching for the sidelines from the first couple of races. In that first race in France, of course, there was that moment in qualifying where Alessio picked up that warning on the lap and invalidated his lap, and then the rain came down. He stayed out and ran out of fuel. What was the were you there for the communication that was going on there? Did you have an idea, any insight onto what was going on in that moment?
Yeah, honestly, I believe Alessio just simply didn't see that it was going to rain. And personally, I was starting to practice for USA tonight after I had the interview with you. So I wasn't following, and there was a bit of not a real organization in that moment. So we got a bit surprised and we did a little mistake. But anyway, during the race, we could have done a tiny bit better to place ourselves in a higher position that we got anyway in the second race with a magistral performance from both drivers, Dario and Domi, that in my view did an amazing job.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And well, I won't necessarily say congratulations for the day, because obviously not the best day as far as you're concerned, but congratulations on the season. The Italian squad has acquitted itself very well. I've been very, very impressed. And thank you for your conduct throughout the season as well, Daniele, in particular.
No problem. It's a pleasure. Goodbye.
Thank you. And then on to Dario Iemulo, who we can talk to now, another representative of Team Italy. Dario, are you there?
Yeah, well, good evening, guys. Tonight I did just one race.
Yeah.
I did Spain, and to be honest, I starting P17, so I had no expectation, but I did really an amazing job, and I did P1, but to be honest, if the race is cancelled, I think it's quite unfair for us. But I think we can do anything about that, if not just praying, because I did that win in Abu Dhabi and Spain, and 2 win and 2 win taken away. So for me, it's quite unfair because I'm to be honest. I was really, didn't not too much practice, and I did an amazing job. I didn't expect this, and so if they're 2 win taken away, so it's not very good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we briefly talk about the race in Spain, though, because I got to say, I do agree with you. That was one of the best performances I've seen in the whole Nations Cup. That was a fantastic race from your part. And I mean, how was the race itself from your perspective? Did you ever? At what point did you realize that such a good position was on the cards?
Yeah, I did a really amazing start because I think after lap 1 or 2, I was in P10 maybe, and I realized that the guys in front aren't too fast, so I decided to pit, and my pace in mediums was really good, and I stay behind Patrick and wait to the final lap. And yeah, I overtake Patrick, take the win, but yeah, I think all this is useless. So, but I think not.
Well, we'll see. And I want to quickly say, I apologize as well for the commentary at the time because we were told that the race would be restarted, so we stopped commentating. We didn't do your victory the justice we should have done because it was really a fantastic victory. So I want to say congratulations again, and sorry that we weren't so hyped for your victory as we could have been. But I will say it was a great race. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, and then finally we have one more person to talk to here, and he's been very, very patient. So thank you very much for that, Patrick Kruti. Are you there?
No problem. No problem. I'm very good. I hope you guys good.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time here in the commentary box today, but we saw some very, very good racing. And you yourself, of course, we were talking to Dario about the drive that he had in Spain. Of course, you were a big part of that drive as well, and you yourself had a very good performance. So would you like to talk about that, or which race would you like to talk about first?
We can talk about every race, but in a very short sentence, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah, so France was good. I mean, all of the races were good. I maximized what I could to do. All of the races had the same strategy, which was pitting out on the lap 3. And all of the races, in all of these races, I was driving on soft tires. I was starting on soft tires. So yeah, it was a very, very good strategy, as I could undercut a few people. In France, in Spain, I undercut a lot of people, so I was leading the race. So yeah, France was good. Started P10, finishing P6, chasing the leading group was good. Even though that I did not do any practice at all before this event, so I was just driving by my memory, and then in the race I was just learning the track again. But yeah, the France was good. I was just feeling good. Spain was very, very good, leading whole race after undercutting a lot of people, and I was looking good because I had a very good straight line speed. But I don't know, Dario just had more at the end. I think more battery for sure because I was very low on it. But yeah, I thought he will not catch me on that straight because my exit was good, but yeah, the straight was too long and my battery died, so he just overtook me around the outside. So I couldn't do anything. I couldn't brake later because we would have crashed. And yeah, he won the race, but P2 was good. And finally, USA, I think, was good as well. Starting P6, quali was pretty decent, considering the fact that I didn't do any practice before USA and didn't know how to set up the car, so I took the setup from the time trial and did P6 in the quali, which was good. And then in the race, again, the same strategy, pitting on lap 3, also overtaking a few cars at the start, so the starts were good today. And yeah, just driving on a P4 for entire race, and then finally Di Capua just overtook me. I knew it will happen sooner or later because he had so much more pace, so much more tires alive. And yeah, just finished P5, so P6, P2 and P5 is good result for me, I think.
Yeah, indeed. No, I think you had a fantastic day, in all honesty. And of course, we were tending to focus on the battle for the overall championship, but I like to think we shouted you out a fair few times, and because you were doing well and you were getting right up there with the very fastest guys, particularly in the USA. I thought that was very impressive, and of course, the Spanish race was wonderful as well. I'm going to ask you a kind of a weird question here, just to round us off. Were there any drivers in the whole field, in the whole of the Nations Cup, who impressed you, who you weren't really on your radar beforehand, and who impressed you?
I think Russians were good. They did a very good job, especially in Spain. I remember in Monza, round 5, they did a good job. Russians were good. Other than that, I think Pablo Hoglar did amazing this season. Even though he's not maybe on the pace, but I was very happy to see him like winning in Japan or in Russia when he was driving first. But someone impressed me that match. Maybe, I don't know, I have to think, maybe Germans, because I didn't know them. They were quite quick at the end of this championship as well, so they were very good as well. But other than that, I cannot think about one particular person who was so impressive this season, other than obviously F1 esports drivers.
Of course, yeah. But I think that's a very adequate answer to my question. So thank you very much for that, Patrick.
Yeah.
It's a lovely insight. And thank you for talking to us. It was a pleasure as always.
Can I ask one question? Which position we finished, Team Poland?
Which position Team Poland finished? I think that should be 4th position. I'm pretty sure you guys finished in 4th.
Okay, P4. That's good. Okay, guys, so thank you very much.
No problem.
See you guys in the next season then.
Yeah, see you next season, man.
Bye. All
right, so that rounds up all of our interviews. It's been a fair few. How are you feeling after all that, Benjamin?
I mean, I can see both sides regarding the Spain argument for sure. The Hungarians feel hard done by with the issues that they had there with desync and AI. But at the same time, you look at the Italians and Dario Jamulo in particular, and the way he drove from P17 on the grid all the way to a victory. It's one of the, I would say, one of the most stellar drives that I've seen over the whole game cycle of F1 2020. And to have that taken away also would be incredibly cruel. So
yeah,
I don't want to be in the shoes of the organizers, the administrators. I don't want to have to make that decision. Thankfully, I don't have to. But I mean, it's just tough. Either way, I'd probably just give him joint second and be like, here you go, if that's possible. Just be like, hey, you both did so well. None of you deserve to be third. But I don't know if that's possible. But certainly, I mean, both teams, especially, I like Italy's philosophy of all 4 drivers are going to get their time and they're going to be switched out. I really like that. It's quite different to the Spanish constant of you always have Caraton and Moreno, and you give more people a chance to drive and get their names out there as well. And, you know, and it needs to be said, I think Team Italy had the best opportunity for that as well, because all 4 drivers are pretty much on the same pace. Like, it was the most, across all 4 drivers, Italy probably was the most consistent team out of all of them. If we compare, we've seen Hungary, Danny Berezny's talked about the other 3 guys, Jakub Sabakoni and Puki. They're good. They're all pretty good. They're all pretty talented, you know, good skill level, certainly faster than I am. Don't get tired of saying that, because I know my own lack of skill. You know, they're just a step, half a step maybe below Danny Berezny, and so, you know, it's a different situation. But for Italy, I mean, they were all 4 just so close to each other and so strong and so good. And then Spain, of course, I mean, you have those 2 drivers that are just unbeatable as a duo, as it seems. And well-deserved victory for the Spaniards. I was about to say Spanish and Spaniards, and I mixed it up, sorry. For the Spaniards. And yeah, we'll see who wins it the next time. If there is a next ORL Nations Cup, I would assume it would be an F1 2021 then. Yeah. And with different physics, I think it's going to be anyone's game.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to seeing league racing competition in general on F1 2021. I think with the new damage model, that's definitely gonna sort some people out from certain others, shall we say, because you can't lean on the sides of other cars so much anymore. So that's gonna provide a bit of a different challenge for the driver.
I mean, let's just look at the incident we saw between I think it was Haddad and Vallejo at the US Grand Prix. That could lead to some floor damage for both cars, and all of a sudden you have the issue that both cars basically either run super slow or have to retire altogether. I'm really looking forward to that. where you can't do that, you can't drive like that. And I think for some drivers that have always been that sort of cautious driver, making sure they don't dive up the inside, making sure they don't, you know, go for a move that might not be on, I think that's going to be a huge blessing. And for the drivers that have always been a bit more rowdy and a bit more, you know, a bit more send-it mentality, it's going to be quite a change to adjust to that new damage model. And of course the physics as well. I have been able to play the game a little bit. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but I'll just quickly say this. The physics have changed quite a bit as well. That car feels... The tire model, that's something that has been talked about by other content creators as well. The tire model has been changed, and that really makes the cars very different to drive. Not necessarily more or less difficult, but it's easier to make mistakes now that will cost you time. It's easier to get the car sliding under steering, whereas previously they were a bit more glued to the track. So that's going to make things difficult as well. And I want to see how all the drivers, whether F1 Esports Pro Series, Challengers, top of league racing, how all of them adjust to this. So very, very much looking forward to league racing on the new game. And yeah, it's going to be remarkable. I think it's going to be a lot more realistic than it has been.
But we'll have to wait a little while longer for that. But for now, we will thank everyone very, very much for watching. And unless there's anything else, Badgerman, that we need to settle before we go offline here?
Well, let's just give the viewers that have stuck around until this very moment the final opportunity to enter the giveaway, because they have about, I would say, probably about 10 minutes left to do so. 5 minutes of music to play, plus 5 minutes that YouTube gives at the end of a stream where you can still chat. So 10 minutes to enter this giveaway right here by MOBIUZ Gaming for an EX3415R monitor, curved monitor, 1 millisecond reaction time, response time, probably one of the best on the market, I gotta say. Certainly for racing, one of the best you could possibly have. All you have to do to enter is follow at MOBIUZ Gaming EU on Twitter, follow at team_ORL on Twitter, tag 2 friends, find the tweet, the giveaway tweet, and retweet it. It should be pinned to the MOBIUZ Gaming EU Twitter account. Like this stream and comment in the chat hashtag MOBIUZ and hashtag EX3415R. You only have to do all of these once. You don't, multiple times won't do it. Once is enough, because I've seen quite a bit of spam of it in the chat. Once is enough. And of course, also a giveaway for FreeM Sim Racing gloves. I'll say it again. I have a pair of these. They are fantastic. The grip is remarkable. You can use your phone. That's what these little gray thumb and index fingers are for. You can actually use your phone with them. And you get a lot of grip, and you keep your wheel clean as well from all the sweat on your hands as you're sweating the game. All you have to do to enter this one, follow at FreeM Sim Racing on Twitter, and of course at team_ORL. Once again, tag 2 friends and retweet the giveaway tweet for those. Like the stream and hashtag FreeM Sim Racing in the chat here as well if you want those gloves. And once again, it will be about 10 minutes that you still have left to enter. If you're watching this as a VOD, the giveaways are over. The winners will be drawn on June 10th, but the giveaways are over at this point. So please do not try to enter if you're watching this after this stream was live. And I think with that, we can sign out from the ORL Future Esports Next Level Racing Nations Cup by MOBIUZ Gaming. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and goodbye.